And thank you.
Just don't.
Smash my phone.
One story left, that's it.
Dr. Avila, can you hear her? Is she working out? Can you hear her? Oh, here. Oh.
And you said, President, we're going to reconvene after the discussion action items, correct? So we won't
We
close.
close, right. So then what do we do? We don't close session, or do we do? We open and close session. Okay. Excellent. Do I have a motion to close session?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, and the time is now, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. The time is now 7:34. Open session is convening now at 7:34 p.m. We'll have the Pledge of Allegiance. And although it's summer, we have a full school board meeting tonight, so let's begin it with the Pledge of Allegiance. We'll have our Csea president from the Rialto chapter, Ms. Raquel Torres, lead us in the pledge. Ms. Torres.
Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to do a report out of closed session.
Yes, we have several. The Board of Education took action to approve an agreement settling San Bernardino Superior Court case number CIVDS 1511796 in exchange for a release of all claims. The roll call vote was President Walker absent, Mr. Martinez, yes, Mr. Montes, no, Mr. Ayala, yes, Ms. O'Kelly, yes. In closed session, the board took action that employee number 1925027 shall be released from their administrative position effective June 30th, 2017, and shall be reassigned to the position of classroom teacher 184 days for the 2017-2018 school year. The roll call vote was President Walker, yes. Vice President Mr. Martinez, yes. Clerk Mr. Montes, yes. Member Ayala, yes. And member Ms. O'Kelly abstain. The Board of Education took action to accept the arbitrator's recommendation for classified employee number 158967. The roll call vote was unanimous. President Walker was absent. The Board of Education accepted the administrative appointment of Jennifer Cuevas as high school assistant principal. The roll call vote was unanimous. President Walker was absent. And the Board of Education denied the request for a leave of absence for classified employee number 1853537, July 1, 2017 through June 30th, 2018. The roll call vote was unanimous. President Walker was absent. That's all.
it? Okay, thank you. Okay, and as we'll have the adoption of the agenda, but we do have a item that'll be removed. Page 3, please announce that the first presentation, which is the San Bernardino Valley Municipal Water District presentation by Gil Navarro, Division 2, Vice President, will be postponed until the July 12th, 2017 board meeting. So we'll be removing that from the agenda for tonight on the presentations. Mayor?
I make a motion that we amend tonight's agenda with item B1 striked from the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. And then do we have a motion to then move approve the agenda as amended?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Excellent. So we'll now move into the presentations. So our presentation will be B2, Pbis Highlights presentation by Angela Brantley, Senior Director of Student Services, and Melissa Rubio, Coordinator for Pbis and LCAP. Thank you.
Hey, how are you?
Well, good evening. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Is this on? Good evening, Board President Mrs. Walker, our board members, and Superintendent Dr. Avilar, and our viewing audience. Again, I'm Angela Brantley. I'm the Director for Student Services. And tonight I have Ms. Melissa Rubio, who's our PBIS coordinator, along with Dr. April Clay, who is with Clay Counseling Solutions. And we will be sharing with you this evening some highlights in regarding our PBIS implementation. For our audience, PBIS stands for Positive Behavior Intervention and Supports. And where am I pointing to? I'm sorry, Saida. Is it on the side? Yes.
My big head look blocked.
I don't know where to point. Yeah. I don't want to say that. Okay, so great, thank you. So 4 years ago, with the support of our board, Rialto ventured into bringing PBIS into our district. What we did in that year was all the site principals at that time participated in a 2-day overview of PBIS training in San Bernardino. With that, the site principals were offered the opportunity to be a part of our first cohort. They went back and they reflected at their particular sites as to whether the framework for PBIS, and again, I'll explain that a little bit more in detail, would be beneficial on their campuses. We had 13 principals step up out of our 28, and they were part of our first cohort. The following year, 8 more of our schools joined, creating our second cohort, and this last school year, our last 7 schools joined in cohort 3, making Rialto one of 2 districts in the county that has 100% of their schools participating in the implementation of the PBIS framework. We know we have a long way to go. We're by no means near the end. We know that with this kind of change in culture and shift in thinking, that it takes about 7 to 10 years of implementation, but we're definitely on our way, and we're committed to doing this work for our students here in the district. Again, for our parents who may be watching, who may not be aware of what PBIS is, it's a framework or a philosophy that, with a school climate where we want to have students who are engaged, who feel safe at school, if we work very diligently as the adults on our campuses and as the district administration to provide safe campuses where we focus on students' social and emotional needs in addition to their academic needs, where we look at whether kids are connected to school, if they feel like the staff cares for them, again, if the environment is safe, if we are teaching the expectations that we expect, then research shows that 80% of our students will be successful in that environment. Their emotional and social needs, they'll feel connected at school and so forth. That research also shows that you still are going to have a certain percentage of your student here, based on this chart, about 15 to 20% of your students who need additional supports. It may be things that are going on in their home life, maybe anxiety and things of that nature, that they're going to need some additional supports. And so what we've done, and my ladies here will share a little bit more about that, we do have some supports that we put into Tier 2, and we've worked really hard in our district to do that. And then Tier 3 would be students who maybe need even more intensive support, maybe one-on-one support. Okay? And with that said, I'm going to let Ms. Rubio share what those Tier 2 interventions are.
Good evening, Board President, Mrs. Walker, board members, Superintendent Dr. Avila, and our viewing audience. I'm Melissa Rubio, and I serve our district in the capacity of your PBIS coordinator in student services. So I'm here to talk to you about implementation of PBIS in our district. It's a three-prong approach. The first is training of the framework. The second is coaching and supporting schools in the implementation process and sustainability process. And then there is an assessment that all schools in the district take, which is called the TFI, or Tiered Fidelity Inventory. This is a measure of faithfulness basically to the framework and how the different strategies that make up this framework are implemented at the schools. This past May, 21 schools in the district took the TFI. 19 of those schools qualified for state PBIS recognition. 5 of them qualified for silver, 14 for bronze. And schools were also required to submit school referral data as well as a PBIS action plan to the state coalition. This month, the state coalition is considering those schools and will let us know soon whether or not we earned indeed those recognitions. We're aiming also for gold and platinum, which is further beyond once we get to tier 2 and tier 3. And let me tell you, Scott Sparks at Eisenhower High School, we've worked closely with their team. They had the highest TFI for high schools. I'm also working closely with Armando Urtiaga, principals, both of them principals. He's working at JHU. We've worked closely with their team. Principal Ray Delgado at Kelly was the highest scoring for elementary schools. And Principal Arnie Ayala, we're working very closely with their team to provide these supports, and I'm going to talk further about the things they've been doing there. Very, very high quality implementations of these tier 2s, which you will see shortly. So the impetus of this, or the root of this, is looking at nurturing the whole child, or whole child supports and tier 2 supports. When we have whole child approaches, we look at each of our schools in each of our communities, and we say to ourselves, these students deserve to be healthy, safe, engaged, supported, and challenged. And we examine avenues by which we can support those students, especially students who might be struggling with trauma, students who may be struggling with family crises. We look at strategies that we can support social and emotional well-being for those students. And we examine their needs regardless of where they are. And these could also be your AP students, your straight A students, your perfect attendance students may also have social emotional needs surrounding sleeplessness, anxiety, and those sorts of things. So even though we tend to academically label kids at risk, even the kids who appear to be doing fine academically could also be suffering from social emotional needs and behavioral supports. In the state of California, we are now taking what we used to call just RTI, which is response to intervention, which is solely academic. And we are looking at creating wraparound services, because when we support a child socially, emotionally, as well as behaviorally, we're ultimately supporting them academically as well. So the state of California is now calling this multi-tiered systems of support, where we have wraparound services where we work with agencies in the community, as well as developing staff within our own district to deliver these types of supports. So we support them academically, we support them behaviorally, and we support them with social and emotional learning. This is, again, the whole child approach to supporting students. So RTI is still a part of supports, but now we have 3 more that are braided in our initiatives. California tasked the Orange County Department of Ed with over $10 million to support this scaling up, and they call it SUMS, which stands for the Scaling Up of Multi-Tiered Systems of Supports Initiative from the California Department of Ed. We applied for some of that money because they are sharing it with surrounding counties in Southern California, and I'm happy to say we successfully were awarded that money. And that money will provide our staff with professional development, as well as how to develop multi-tiered systems of support and wraparound services within our district. Great. And if any of you want to visit the Orange County Department of Ed website, this is their graphic, which explains that all means all. That means every part of our community, school-wide, district-wide, is going to be involved in MTSS. We've given some surveys to students throughout the district. We've given the Healthy Kids survey, We've also had our own surveys that we've given at school sites as different staff and leaders have gone around to find out what kids are dealing with behaviorally and socially emotionally. Surveys indicate that Rialto Unified students are dealing with such things as trauma, family conflicts, mental health crises, which could be undiagnosed mental health concerns, social emotional learning needs, depression, and anxiety. Again, these are not necessarily all the students who don't come to school regularly. These can be any student within our district. And those students could also be a part of this universal support, as well as Tier 2 supports depending on their needs and depending on the referral. That attitude or that initiative is also about having trauma-informed schools. We do have kids within our district that are dealing with foster placement and such things. We also have kids that are in crisis domestically, and they do things like want to stay at school as late as they can because they don't want to go home to the crisis going on at home. So in doing so, Student Services took it upon itself to start training people in the district who do this work naturally. We selected district administrators, site administrators, campus safety officers, attendance specialists, school psychologists, counselors, just to name a few, and we started training them in how to support students with Tier 2 behavior supports and social emotional needs. One of the first things, I don't know if anyone has heard of it yet, it's called Restorative Practices. It's a very old practice. In fact, today we just trained 5 people in our district, 2 administrators, a counselor, a SDC teacher, and a campus safety officer. And we are now certified to deliver restorative practices from the International Institute of Restorative Practices to our district. We also have 10 that were recently trained in LA, and they also can take it back to their schools and start practicing. And we are going to come up with a way to support this within classrooms to help teachers learn to start doing this. And it's nothing that's on top of what they do. It's another strategy to connect to kids so that they can connect to you and their own learning. We also had a recent training, again, with many different people, 25 different people in the district, not all teachers and not all administrators, a nice blend group that did group counseling, which comes from the Bay Area. It's called One Circle Foundation, and it's curriculum on the Girls Circle Empowerment and Boys Council, which I'm happy to say our officer right here has been trained in Boys Council and has been practicing some of this at a couple of our elementary schools. Another one is an offense-based counseling service called NCTI, and the different things that they deal with, and this is again is an alternative to traditional punishments, and we send them to things like anger management counseling, drug and alcohol interventions, weapons aversion, and truancy prevention. We also have some things where and again, Dr. Clay is going to talk about our one-on-one consultants, and Dr. Clay and her team present marriage family therapist clinicians, as well as licensed social worker that we have contracted with in the district. We also have programs in mentorship. We have peer mentorship and adult mentorship. We have a program called Check-In, Check-Out, where an adult doesn't have to be a teacher. It can be an attendance specialist, it can be a custodian, it could be the librarian. Someone checks in with a student who's struggling at the beginning of the day, just checks in, are you okay? Do you need something before you go to class? Here's your assessment for the day. I want to get feedback from every one of your teachers. I'm going to see you at the end of the day. It doesn't take more than 3 to 5 minutes at the beginning and 3 to 5 minutes at the end of the day. It's a form of mentorship that doesn't take a lot of time. It's whoever that kid connects to on the campus. That's an adult that they connect to. Another method is called Breaks or Better. Another Tier 2 support for kids who have problems with concentration or maybe have been diagnosed with ADHD and they need scheduled breaks. Because sometimes if they're in a long class, they just need to schedule a break supervised to go outside, maybe walk around a little or go into a wellness center, do they have these little toys that kind of help you get rid of your anxiety, and I know a lot of you know what they are, and then just go back to class. And then allows them to concentrate. We also have a partnership with Cal State San Bernardino counseling interns. We have a couple counselors who oversee their internship hours, and they also deliver group counseling, one-on-one counseling, supervised by our qualified counselors in the district. And lastly, we partner with the County Department of Behavioral Health with SAP services, and this is your student assistance provider. These again are licensed clinicians that work with our district and the Department of Behavioral Health to marry needs to students and families, whatever that may be. If you have a student in crisis, maybe a student that's gone through a trauma, maybe a student who's suffering from forms of anxiety and things like that, we try to make sure and marry them to the services that they require in order to remain in school and understand that we need them there and we're connected to you and we're devoted to helping you. Lastly, I'd like to highlight the district's first wellness center, which our board president kindly came to help us dedicate. This is the first ever wellness center in the district. It looks nothing like a regular classroom. It has soothing colors, a water feature, couches, ottoman seating to facilitate circles, low incandescent lighting, and no desks. Students walk in there as a place of refuge, as a place of sanctuary, and a place to get help. Some students who are suffering, I recently talked to a student at Rialto High who lost his father recently, still at school every day, but he goes in there and he just talks to the counselor as he needs help throughout the day. Okay? This is a safe place to get support or seek intervention. Referrals come from the student themselves, administrators, counselors, and teachers. We are currently creating a film to highlight this success, which we will debut at the Student Wellness Conference in Palm Desert on July 10th. Please, I invite each and every one of you to schedule a visit with the principal, Arnie Ayala, to come and look at this beautiful wellness center that we're looking to duplicate at other sites in the district. I wanted to go over a couple things that they get there. As you'll see, they get stress and anxiety relief. They can be a part of a girls' empowerment circle. They get lectures on healthy relationships, truancy intervention circles, boys council, and the like. Thank you very much. Over to Dr. Clay.
Okay, great. Good evening. Thank you for allowing us to join and partner with your wonderful district. We've had a great time, worked with a lot of students, and we're going to give you details of that. And so what you see here on the first slide on the introduction is that we started with your district October and concluded at the end of May. We saw approximately 614, we provided 614 counseling sessions. That does not include any emergency conversations with kids. These are just the planned, scheduled counseling sessions. We also did some of the support services like checking in on a student who we've been working with if you've been dealing with something difficult. So we may have seen that child more than one time, but that's not included here. So 614 sessions with kids, and then I'll talk about the collateral context in a moment, but we had almost as many or just a little bit more collateral context. That means conversations with parents, conversations with district admin or staff on the campus to support an individual student. So when we're looking at the individual counseling services, there were 76 students that we worked with throughout the time that we were here. We provided weekly therapeutic counseling sessions. And when we think about therapeutic counseling sessions, I want you to know that the therapists that work with the children are all marriage and family therapists or licensed professional clinical counselors. They're working with the kids on clinical work, meaning they're dealing with some type of a diagnosis. So it's outside of our scope of practice to do academic counseling. It is solely within our scope of practice to perform what mental health counseling only. It's more than 600 counseling sessions, as you saw on the last slide, and we were at various schools throughout the district, Mondays through Friday. Some sites we were there multiple times. Some sites we had to pull back because we were there so frequently, we didn't have time for schools we needed to be at as well. So it was it was a good experience for the kids, and students who needed care, who weren't receiving it in the community, were able to get their needs met. So who are the kids? So the referrals, we have a process that we use for the referral, and I'll show you what that was in just a moment. But they were for specific needs. So we may have received a referral because a child was acting differently than they regularly behave. So a kid may be in class every day, excited, smiling, talking, interfacing with the teacher, and then all of a sudden the teacher may notice that behavior's changed. So they're no longer looking at the teacher, they're no longer smiling, something's different. And so the teacher may have talked to the vice principal, typically that's the administrator we received our referrals from. They may have talked to the administrator and said, I've been working with this student all year and something's different. And so we will then, at that point, do our assessment. I'll show you the process in just a moment, but that's how we ended up with the student. And we would find out that there was something going on in their life. So it may have been grief and loss. It may have been like the death of a relative.
It may have been just that they were refusing to do work. So you have an A student who's all of a sudden earning Fs or just not turning in assignments. They may have had something that was ongoing and it just has peaked. Or maybe it was ongoing and it just has never been addressed, and a new teacher may see it and want to address it. The child may be dealing with anger outbursts that's causing them to be suspended multiple times. They may have had, as I mentioned before, sudden drop in grades. They may just be struggling academically. And so a child who's struggling academically, you'll see them put their head down, they're crying in class, and it's usually around a certain time of day. And so with the Pbis program, that's when they're able to track and understand when it's occurring. And then we're able to come in and say, okay, so let's sit down and talk about what's going on. And we discover through therapy that what's happening for this child is really an emotional response to an academic need. And so working with our therapists, that's how we discover what the concerns are. They may be dealing with being victimized. So being bullied on the playground or having someone make jokes about you every time at lunch may make you no longer want to go to lunch. Or every morning you might have an upset stomach. It causes physical problems. And so the teacher may have then said, okay, I think something's happening beyond what normally occurs in the classroom, so why don't we go ahead and talk to someone and get you some support. And then it may have just been social skills. You see a chart that breaks down a sample of what the kids were dealing with. So the majority of our kids were dealing with oppositional, what we would call ODD, so it's oppositional defiance disorder, or some were dealing with conduct disorder. That's a little heavier diagnosis. But these are all mental health diagnoses. We do diagnose kids. The major depressive disorder, it could have been that the child was dealing with something that was minor, but when you see them listed here, it's because it was a major depressive disorder. This is something that's not going to go away if they don't get treatment. And it will grow, and it does put them at risk of suicide behavior. Then PTSD is another one that stood out as kids were dealing with trauma, things occurring in the home. Some of them live in environments that are just flat out not safe. Some of the not safe behavior may be occurring in their home, between parents or with their sibling, but for whatever reason, it's causing them to have some trauma. So now they're having nightmares or dealing with traumatic symptoms, similar to what you would see with an individual who went away to war and came back home. So the kids dealing with this in a classroom setting. The mood disorders vary in nature. Some of those mood disorders end up getting IEPs because those really stand out and they trigger needs. They get greater needs and they end up with those assessments and they end up with the IEP. And then ADHD, very common but not often diagnosed properly. And anxiety. Anxiety is a major one. We are seeing far more kids, especially in elementary ages, dealing with anxiety than we've ever seen as a nation. And so because they're dealing with anxiety, it takes on physical symptomology that can carry them through their lifetime. And it's almost like learning a bad habit. If they don't get addressed, if it doesn't get the medical care that it needs, it will grow, and over time they won't be able to function well. So the symptoms start off small and then they grow. And so what does the referral process look like? So a student was referred by the school. Most of our referrals came from the teacher and the administrator. And then once they told us that they wanted us to see the student, they simultaneously reached out to home. They called the parent or the guardian and let them know that they're referring their child for services. The parent then had the opportunity to say yes or no. And so that's when we received them, when they brought back the consent form signed saying that they were willing to or would like to get the care that their child may need. And it may have just been an assessment, but for the 614 we're referring to, this was ongoing individual counseling sessions. And so the school provided the clinical counselor by way of play counseling services, so we provided the therapy each week, so we didn't have to worry about whether or not the kid was going to make it to the mental health appointment because we brought the mental health appointment to them. Right. And the power of the district being able to do this meant that your district's student services was able to reach out to me and say, April, what are you doing? Can you go meet with this kid? And I would say, absolutely, we'll get somebody over there. And so even if it wasn't one of the normal sites we were at, we were able to go and deal with the emergency for a kid who's dealing with something that was outside of the scope of traditional school counseling. And then we were able to meet with the student on an ongoing basis at that time, once it was evaluated and determined that they needed ongoing care. So that was your Tier 2 and Tier 3 kids that Melissa just showed you. Those are the ones we were providing services for. This is how the 614 therapy sessions looked over the course of the year. And you'll notice that in February we had one set of numbers, but then in March you see a jump to having two sets of numbers because we took on a second contract because we have more kids needing care than we can actually see within the course of our contract with your district. So we extended the services. And that's how we ended up with more numbers. So we went a little over 100 each month across the different elementary schools. And so at the end you see in May, we just combined the two numbers so you can see how it looks condensed. So that's what the numbers look like. And then I would like to invite Brenda Medina, which is one of my colleagues, to share with you an actual narrative of what it looks like for a student.
Good evening, board members in the audience. My name is Brenda, and I was one of the clinicians that was on site at some of the sites, and so I got to experience firsthand working with the students, collaborating with staff members, making contact with the parents, and I just want to start off by saying that that made all the difference in working with the students. Having the teachers being engaged in the progress of the students really helped us because we're not always there to see how the student behaves in the classroom. We did engage in classroom observations, but ultimately their time is spent majority with the teacher, and so that was really helpful to us in working with that student. Making that contact with the parent was also very important. We not only had to establish rapport with the student and staff members, but also with the parents. Being the bilingual clinician for Clay Counseling Solutions, I was able to engage with a lot of the Spanish-speaking only parents, and so that made a huge difference in a lot of these kids' lives. Some of the parent feedback that we received was very genuine, so they felt comfortable enough to let us know when they felt their child was regressing or when small progress was made. And so we really instilled in them that it was mostly about seeing a slight progress in their child than noticing a huge change. And so it really helped in celebrating some of that small progress with the student, which ultimately helped with a lot of the positive outcomes that we saw. So I want to share about two students in particular that really stood out to all of us. I mean, every interaction we had has really made an impact in our professional development. But these two students, one of them was a Spanish-speaking female student. She initially was not engaging with our counselor, and we had an interpreter with her at the beginning. And as a bilingual clinician, I came in, spoke her language, and she really started to evolve and engage in the counseling process. And so that really made all the difference with her. She made an immense progress over the several weeks that we worked together, and being in contact with her mom also helped, and with her teacher. There was another little boy who was so cute, and he was having he was struggling making good decisions in the classroom, and so that was really interfering with his learning and with the learning of other students. And so we established a routine, and a lot of our clinicians do this with a lot of the students too, so that when they come in, they already know this is what we expect, this is how our counseling session starts. And so he would come in knowing that he would draw on the board how his day was, what he hoped his day would look like, 10 being I'm hoping for a great day, or 5 I'm feeling a little not so okay today. And so that would be our first gauge into how he was doing for the day. And so he would come in, and we reviewed healthy coping skills versus putting our hands on other students and being aggressive in the classroom. And it really took the collaboration of the staff and the parent to really be engaged in their progress to see the student thrive. So towards the end, he was a little kindergartner, and he knew exactly what to do when his head was feeling hot, because that's when he said that where he felt the anger, and he utilized the healthy coping skills that he learned in the counseling process. So like Dr. Clay mentioned, some of the reasons why the students were seen, but I think it's also important to also kind of get a behind-the-scenes picture as to what goes on in the counseling process, and hearing some of the parent and staff feedback. So,
you mentioned that you guys asked the parents first for their consent to have sessions with the students. What happens if the parent doesn't give consent? Does that mean the students then don't receive help?
yes, that is correct. So if we don't have the parent consents, then legally we cannot see the student.
Is it something that rarely happens though? I'm guessing most parents would see it as a good opportunity for their child to get help.
Well, I can't speak to specifically how many, but I know in general, even before we had the contract with Clay Counseling, we have a lot of resources in the community that we try to connect parents with, as Ms. Rubio was sharing with. But parents have a right to say yes or no. And of course, we still continue to work with that student. We may do things that are more site-based, like doing the check-in and check-out with a mentor on the campus to try to do that same kind of work, at least to the level that we can. But until a parent gives permission to take it to that next level, of course, we couldn't do it. But I'm sure, do you have percentages? Yeah, okay.
Okay, so I don't have exact numbers, but I can tell you it's very rare. And to be honest with you, one of the two scenarios that Brenda shared with you, one of them was an African-American dad who initially the principal said, no, Dr. Clay, you talk to him. And I said, no, Brenda will be fine. She'll be fine. But he thought maybe there was a cultural piece there that was the biggest concern for Dad. And it really was. So when I met with Dad, I helped him understand a little bit better about our intentionality. And then he said, okay, well, I don't think there's a problem with my son. So he felt like the school was a problem. The school was a problem. It's the classroom. It's the environment. And so in our dialogue, we helped him understand a little bit better about what we do and how that's going to help his child long term, as opposed to us blaming the child, which we weren't doing. So I think part of the approach from the principal was helpful. Having a principal that was sensitive and concerned about Dad's concerns, that made a big difference. And at all the sites, I'm going to tell you, your administrators are on point. There was not a single administrator who I didn't see take the horse by the reins and say, nope, I got this one. And they actually interfaced with the parent themselves when they were saying they were concerned or they didn't really feel safe, because we know that mental health is stigmatized. It just flat out is. Even as adults, we don't go get help. 70% of the people who need it don't go get it. And so we know that the parents are those adults. And so when it did come up, which I think there was only 3 specific times that I could think of, one of which was a young man she mentioned last, the administrator stepped in and helped. There was one parent who just adamantly refused. We suspected there might have been some child abuse concerns going on. The school did call and report, and they had previous years of CPS engagement. So there are some that slipped through the cracks in that sense, but not really, because the school still provides additional resources and support.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Brantley?
One more question.
I did have one question, because I know you said they're not at all sites. So if they're not at a specific site, if they're not contracted at a specific site,
Right.
and a teacher or principal had a concern about a kid, they would call your office?
Yes.
Or
Yes.
Okay.
So even Dr. Clay was stating that we created one contract earlier in the year,
Yes.
and the need was pervasive, so we ended up creating another contract. But she would be very supportive if a middle school or high school student was in crisis at that time. Like she said, we could call. We're looking to expand the agreement. We may be coming back to board next month with an expanded agreement so that we can continue the support. And then again, as Ms. Rubio stated, we have South Coast. We have a variety of consultants that we work with, but we primarily have asked Dr. Clay to focus on our elementary schools, because we know if we can get it early on, then we'll do better. So.
Just want to say thank you all for that,
Right.
especially for those services, because just even working in schools, and period, you said, again, with mental health issues, people don't often go seek help, even when they need help. And for our families, and even in my own family, I found that, when you try to get help, where do you go? And so it's really great that if a child is having a crisis at school and there's support there, that we're able to respond at that time and work with the family to get some support for the students. So thank you for your department and everything that you're doing. Thank you, Clay Counseling Solutions.
I'd just like to add that it's great that we're bringing the help to the schools.
Yes.
I remember the days when we would suggest certain places in town and whatever, but the rate of follow-through
Right.
on the part of the parents was about 1%, and the kids were not getting the help. So this is awesome.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so we're going to comments now. Any public comments from the floor? At this time, any person wishing to speak on any item not on the agenda will be granted 3 minutes. Do we have any, sir?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
First, we have Tobin Brinker.
Good evening, Board and Superintendent. First, I'd like to start by thanking Dr. Avila for posting the middle school principal position, and he had an opportunity to speak to me just before the meeting began. And tomorrow the position closes, and we're all very anxious to make sure that we get through the next phase, the interview process, and get someone hired before the school year starts. And so hopefully we'll get that calendar quickly so we can know exactly what's going on. And I'll just share my own heart. I'm so concerned. You know, everything seems to be taking much longer than it should. And the new school year will be here, and we want to have that person in place so we can start the year on a firm footing. So, again, thank you for getting that taken care of, but let's make sure we get it done because it's important. As a group, we from Pbis have come in to the board meetings since early April. We've been speaking about a variety of issues, and we've asked the superintendent to address them. I'm just going to list these issues. The policy, to create a policy that deals with the issue of employees that are being fired and to give them support, coaching, and progressive discipline before removal. So we don't have somebody that's being let go when it seems like they've been a good employee for, and I'll use my principal as an example, 25 years in this district, never written up, and then suddenly they're being pushed out. Number 2, policy for the maintenance issues. We actually gave you a written policy, and we were hoping to see that on an agenda where it would be discussed, and there would be some movement to actually create a new policy that deals with those issues. A policy to meet regularly with staff and community at the schools. I commend the board members who came out and spoke to us at Pbis, spoke with staff members and spoke with parents. That's something that should be happening on a regular basis at all of our schools around the district with our staff and with the parents, because there are issues that I think you need to hear about, and you need a policy that says you're going to do that. And whether it's quarterly or monthly or however, you guys need to work that out, but it needs to be a policy. A policy to expedite employee investigations to make sure that they're fair and that they lessen the impact on students. And we talked about some staff members that were removed at my school, and students were left with substitute teachers for months on end as these investigations dragged on and dragged on and dragged on. And ultimately nothing was found. These people are still working to the district, and the kids suffered. And why did it have to take that long? So we need a policy that deals with that. Number 5, create a policy, a public relations agent to deal with parent complaints. We've talked about parent complaint issues and creating a better policy around that, and having one person, a single person in this district who is the point person that deals with those things at the district level and helps with the site levels, I think would be very important. Number 6, a policy to ensure adequate security staffing levels at all schools. You know, Pbis had some issues this year with having substitute security people. We have new people that are hired. I'm excited. I've met them. I think they're good. But it took a long time to get them there, and we need to have enough staffing. And then the final one, and this is the one that I'm here to talk about tonight, which is to reinstate the 8th grade promotion ceremony. And I see I'm already out of time,
Yes.
and I really don't want to go over, but I want to leave you with a question, just something for you to think about, if I may. And that is, when you think about the ceremony for 8th grade promotion, in your mind, is it an entitlement that every student gets and can only be deprived them if something egregious happens? Or is it actually a reward that must be earned by achieving certain clearly defined criteria? And how you answer that question
Thank
really
you, Mr.
will
Baker.
help us to move forward as a staff, because we need to have an understanding of what that is. Okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ivy Tillery?
Mr. Brinker touched on everything I was going to talk about. Okay, thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank the board for coming down to our school and listening to us. And it would actually be nice for you guys to come down and more often, so it's not just us complaining about something, and when we have an issue we have to call you guys down there. It'd be nice to kind of get a back and forth, a rapport, so we can kind of get to know you guys better, instead of just coming to ceremonies and we meet you hi bye. You know, it would be nice if you guys came down on a regular basis instead of just when we complain. Also, I'd like to thank you guys for hiring a security guard at Pbis. It is really nice to know that there's not just gonna be one all around the school. And I wonder if you guys are gonna have a formula depending on how many students there is or how many exits there are at the school. I wonder if you guys have that in place, how you guys hire. But that's about it. Thank you guys.
Michelle Ramirez?
Good evening. I'd also like to start by thanking you, Dr. Avila, for starting the search for the new principal for Frisbee. We were concerned that it wouldn't be given thorough attention, but we look forward to participating in the interview process as you promised, and anticipate an outcome and hopefully getting somebody that Frisbee really needs. Tonight I would like to only ask a few questions and share a personal concern. First, just as you've already heard before, Dr. Avila, what's going on with the maintenance policy that we've proposed? We were told that if we submitted a suggested policy and asked for it to be put on the agenda for a vote, that it would be considered, but it, in the last two agendas has not been placed on the agenda or voted on. And we've been speaking about this one since March. And everybody's feedback seems to be very positive, but we've still heard nothing at this point. Next, has anyone looked at the parent complaint process for our district yet, including our complicated forms that are located online? Has there been any conversation about our district creating a more consistent process that would eliminate the imbalance of power? Has there been any conversation about bringing back the position of the public relations agent who would handle all of the complaints to help with that consistency? Because we've also heard nothing about that. And also, has there been any discussion about a consistent middle school promotion policy? We have done the legwork. We created the survey for teachers. It had a high percent in favor towards having a policy with set standards. We presented data and several relevant reasons why we should have this and why it's imperative, but we've also heard nothing about that so far. So there's something that's been really bothering me since the start of these board meetings. And we started only coming here because our school had some very important concerns that we needed to get taken care of, and we had been flat out ignored for months. So we complained loudly and we got some things attended to, but we had to complain for a whole month before anything was looked at that we had been talking about. And I believe that was very unacceptable. But now we're passionate about making long-term fixes, policy changes so that our district can be better. But we're still being put off, and I wouldn't say we're being flat out ignored, but we're not being communicated to at all. And why is this? If we're truly all here for the kids, why does this feel like such a battle? Is it because it's Frisbee fighting? Because we know that Frisbee doesn't have the best reputation, is what we hear out there from almost everybody. Are you truly passionate about the kids and improving this district? Because here we are 4 months later, still asking if you hear us, what you think about our ideas, what you're doing about these things, and still we are hearing nothing back from you. Are you waiting for us to get tired and fade away? Your actions and words seem to deem us as the resistance, but you're kind of the resistance. You are our leaders, and your people are telling you what we need. And we at Frisbee, we are not the only ones that want to see change in this district. So if you are listening, if you're pondering, if you're discussing, can you please start communicating the progress? Maybe you could assign us a single contact person to be able to provide us updates, someone we could be in constant contact with at all times. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tina Sanchez.
Good evening. My name is Tina Sanchez, resident of Rialto. Thank you for flying the Frisbee Middle School principal position, but we all know that this does not make it right due to the unjust and unfounded termination of Mr. Aguilana Osondo-Wique. With that said, appoint Mr. Osondo-Wique as principal of Frisbee Middle School. He is the best leader for this position. I'm a little confused by the way in which the board continued to deflect your attention from recent concerns. You continue to talk about emotions, feeling, and delivery, as opposed to actually coming up with a viable resolution to many concerns that have been presented to you over the past 3 months. I will take the next minute to reiterate some of the concerns. The first, in the last 10 years, I have watched Rialto Unified School District unjustly remove many excellent administrators from their sites and how these actions have negatively impacted the community. I am once again requesting a board policy to address a progressive discipline due process to be used to support, correct, coach, and discipline your contractual employees before they're unjustly removed from a site when the concerns regarding the employee are not criminal. This can only assist you in making more informed decisions. The superintendent answers to you and not, the superintendent answers to you and not you to him. We need this policy so that the future superintendent cannot continue to come in and subjectively disrupt our community. The second, create an investigative process that does not take months to complete, and upon completion, employees will not be moved due to unfounded claims or accusation. When employees are moved, it sends the wrong message, or it implies that the employee did something wrong. The process must start with speaking with the staff member and receiving a written statement before placing them on administrative leave. I will re-emphasize the fact that from 7 p.m. to the conclusion of the board meeting, I am a community member, not an employee of Rialto Unified School District. The only obligation that I have to the district is as a mandated reporter. Also, if I'm going to be quoted, please quote me accurately. The statement that I made towards the superintendent is as follows. If this was your decision and you didn't give Mr. O or other administrators their due process and provided a legitimate reason to disrupt our school and community, shame on you. So I ask that the statement not be taken out of context. I await a response to this concerns from the board and Dr. Avila. Thank you for your anticipated cooperation in this matter. I really appreciate it.
Lorette Allen.
Good evening. I would like to start by thanking Derek Harris and Ron Ramirez for meeting with me regarding the ongoing health and maintenance issues at Frisbee. Dr. Avila, as a group, we've been speaking at the board meeting since March, April. Here are some of the policy issues that we repeatedly asked you about. Our superintendent to address. Policy to fix the maintenance issues. Employee dismissal. Expedite employee investigations. Creating public relations officers. Adequate security guards. Reinstating standards for 8th grade promotion. And a policy to effectively and systematically deal with parent complaints. We are here as problem solvers, seeking ways to make RUSD a better and more efficient district. We have offered solutions, provided you with policies on various issues, and still nothing has been done. As a classroom teacher, I am expected to have a grading policy, a late work policy, a discipline policy, a make-up work policy, a tardy policy, a behavior consequence policy, and an academic intervention policy. It is inconceivable to me that my leader, you, Dr. Avila, haven't taken any steps to resolve these district-wide problems by implementing policies. Yet I'm expected to have 8 policies implemented in my classroom just to teach my babies. Once again, I stand before you with questions. When were the air quality tests done on the B wing and B9? What was the outcome? Who was the company that performed these? What are the next steps to be taken? I still have not received any information on what made myself and my students sick on March 10th. I am requesting copies of all of the work orders and results of any time of work that was completed pertaining to the B wing at Frisbee. When I met with Ron and Derek, we discussed the asbestos that was disturbed when the rat-laden ceiling tiles and the urine-soaked installation was replaced. One of their concerns was that the B building would not be ready by August if the repairs were started. My question, what is more important, our students' staff and our students and staff health, or a timeline? My next question is, when is RUSD going to implement a maintenance policy? We have been proactive. We submitted these to you, a draft maintenance policy. It included a process of prioritizing work orders and improving customer service so that we can guarantee problems are solved. So, Dr. Avila, when will you present this to the board? That's my question. After 4 months, I gave you a 1-page policy, real simple, maintenance. I would like to see our board, as my leader, take some steps of action. Because if I didn't have policies in my classroom, I would be in trouble.
Laura Goodlow.
Good evening, School Board, Dr. Avila, and viewing audience. My name is Laura Goodlow. I'm a special ed teacher at Frisbee. a parent of a student at Eisenhower, and a community member. So again, we're giving you our kudos and our thanks to you guys for posting the middle school principal position on EdJoin the day after the last school board meeting. We really appreciate that because we want to be sure we're ready for the next school year. Again, I was gonna go on the same kind of policy changes that Mr. Brinker had mentioned and Lorette. And I had this whole speech written out, but I think I want to just talk to you guys like I'm not reading, okay? Give you eye contact. So at any rate, I wanted to just give you guys a suggestion. We really enjoyed having you guys come to our school and see our school, Mr. Montez and Mr. Ayala and Dr. Avila. We appreciated that. It was good. Even though if things got heated, it was still good. Uncomfortable conversations need to be had sometimes. So as a parent, I would like for us to continue that kind of engagement with parents and our community. So my suggestion would have been to maybe do different parent meetings at different school sites, like at Garcia, at Cordiac, way at the North End, all different levels, so that parents have an opportunity. Maybe they can't come to meetings. Maybe they're not brave enough to come and speak at the podium. I know in Colton, they used to do school board meetings at different school locations to give parents that opportunity to come and do that. So I worked in Colton for 16 years. So that was my suggestion. That's what I was gonna say. So have a good summer.
One more for Frisbee, over the 20-minute limit. One follow-up.
Marco Antonio Villalobos.
Buenas noches, Board. Mi nombre es Antonio Villalobos, soy presidente de la Liga de Rialto United.
I'm the president of the Soccer League, Rialto United.
Tengo como de experiencia como 20 años con la liga.
And I have 20 years of experience running this league.
Y lo que he percibido, independientemente de otras escuelas de Rialto, el señor Mr. O siempre...
And what I perceive, independent of other schools in the Rialto School District, specifically from Mr. O.
Siempre es una persona muy amable y siempre me atendió con mucho respeto y la verdad le estoy muy agradecido porque...
He's a very courteous person. He's always treated me with great respect, and in fact, I am very grateful to him because...
nunca he tenido ningún problema y se me hace una persona muy respetable y aparte cuando he ido a aplicar para las canchas de los niños, tengo muchos coaches de niños que ahí entrenan en la Pbis y nunca he tenido ningún problema y rápido sí nos
He's always treated me with respect. In fact, I've never had any problems. In fact, when I've come to request the use of the fields because I have many boys soccer teams, he's always treated me with respect.
Yo tengo varias escuelas porque tengo varios equipos de niños y para entrenar y para jugar y
I use several schools because I have several teams, children's teams, and I use the schools to play as well as to practice.
Y la verdad, nadie como él, la verdad, nunca he tenido ningún problema.
And truthfully, no one like him. Truthfully, I never had a problem with him.
Y aparte como miembro de la comunidad nos ha apoyado en varios programas de la escuela.
Also, as member of the community, he supported us in many programs at the school.
Como estudiar inglés,
like learning English,
computación,
computer,
que ninguna escuela tiene.
That no other school has.
So él se está preocupando por la comunidad, ¿por qué removerlos y él nos está ayudando?
So he's actually concerned with helping the community. So why remove him if he's actually helping us?
So yo como líder de la comunidad, porque soy un líder de la comunidad, tengo muchos personas que me apoyan, les quiero que lo dejen trabajar en Frisbee, porque es un buen trabajo. Es todo lo que les pido.
And myself as a leader of the community, because I do have many people that support me, I want to ask you to let me continue working at Frisbee.
Porque está haciendo un buen trabajo, así que yo pienso que no es el momento de removerlo, la verdad.
Because he's doing a great job, so I really think that this is not the moment to remove him, truthfully.
Es todo lo que les puedo decir. Muchas gracias por la atención. Pienso que lo piensen, por favor. Gracias.
And I want you to think about it, please.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Paula Bailey.
Good evening, Superintendent. Superintendent, board members. I'm excited that we're at summer vacation, not so much about this 107-degree temperature. In addition to being a parent, I do work in the community with kids, and in my working I've found several things that I wanted to touch base on. And the first one is I want to applaud you guys for having the counseling service here. Coming from a mental health agency, the kiddos that have parents, the kiddos that are having the challenges usually have parents that have their own challenges of their own. So I know and feel the follow through. So giving that support to the kids and making it open so that they have it here, versus the parent having to schedule having someone come into their home or whatnot. So I truly appreciate that, coming from somebody in that field and truly wanting what's best for kids. Over the last several months, number 2, I had the opportunity of running into Mr. Ted Alejandra and our county superintendent, and we were talking about footsteps to brilliance. And I know the parents have had presentations and so forth, but if they still don't know about it, there is so much out there for these kiddos. I don't know if they all understand that once it's planted on a device, it doesn't require Wi-Fi if you're sitting in the grocery store and your kid is playing on that. It backs up later. So they really have tried to eliminate as many barriers as possible. Another thing that Mr. Alejandro had informed me is, yes, Rialto is the first in the county district to pick up this program, but county schools has picked it up for children under the age of 6. So if parents have relatives in other, districts within the county, their kiddos can actually take advantage of that, because of the studies that have been shown and how it's helped. And before someone else had even said it, I've said it before and have thought it, I really do miss you guys taking this meeting on the road. I really think, and I've said it many times, some of you've heard it from me before, I really think not doing that takes away from the fact that these schools get excited that they're important enough for you to come out and see them. These kids love these presentations. It makes it so our parents who cannot drive, have a way to get there because it's a school in walking distance. I know it's a challenge because how we televise it and, do it on YouTube and etc. But I think giving these families the opportunity, I usually don't run out of time, to be present and be part of that would be a valuable thing to start thinking about again, if possible. Thank you and have a great night.
Thank you.
That's all for items
on-
not on the agenda.
Okay. So for now, we'll have public comments on agenda items. Any person wishing to speak on any item on the agenda will be granted 3 minutes. Do we have any?
We have Sue Robertson.
Good evening, Dr. Avila. I'm here tonight actually to thank you for your continued support for our special education students. Of course, I'm part of that group that's been speaking at these board meetings since early April. Just to summarize some of the policy issues we're concerned about, one is a policy to ensure the employees being dismissed or fired are given support, coaching, and progressive discipline before removal. Administrators are human beings too, and they deserve due process and human rights. We appreciate that. Policy to fix maintenance issues, policy to systematically meet regularly with staff and community, policy to expedite employee investigations, make them fair and lessen the impact on students, policy creating a single public relations agent that deals with parent complaints at the district office level, policy to ensure adequate security staffing at all schools, policy reinstating standards for the 8th grade students to participate in the promotion ceremonies. I haven't seen these policies come to fruition yet, but I have faith that you will stand behind your word and address these issues. I look forward to seeing things progress next year. Attendance at these meetings has made me acutely aware of the distressing numerous parents of special needs students who have had some issues. I'm happy really to see on the agenda tonight on funding issues, some real progress in that area. I'd like to publicly recognize and thank you for committing almost $1 million, $825,000 actually, in special education funds to meet the needs of some of these special children. 5 items in Section 8 and 7 items in Section K of tonight's agenda list expenditures from the special education funds for specific services. These include $290,000 for speech therapy services, which are critical, $225,000 for auditory verbal therapy, special services for autistic children, physical and occupational therapy, and even $15,000 for art classes for 1 current special education student. I applaud you. I appreciate that you have many difficult decisions to make in prioritizing the way that you spend public funds to meet the needs of the almost 26,000 students being educated in Rialto. And I'm happy and relieved to know that the needs of our most vulnerable students are not being overlooked.
That's all.
That's it? Okay. Next, we'll have comments from Association Executive Board members. Rialto Education Association, REA. Okay. California School Employees Association, Csea. Is Raquel still there? No?
Here she is.
Okay.
Good evening,
Good evening.
President Walker, School Board. My name is Raquel Torres, and I'm president of Csea. Summer is here in full swing, people. We got some heat on us. I want to let everyone know that on Friday, July 28th, the Safety and Security Department will be hosting a safety event. There's a lot of things behind the scenes that the Security Department does. Myself, I'm in charge of the K9 program and the random search. My partner, Victor Ramirez, he does safe routes and voice counsel. But that day we're going to be having an event excuse me, for the community and schools. We're inviting parents to kind of show what our department does behind the scenes and what each of the officers specialize in. And we just want to encourage everyone to come and participate. We're going to have several activities that day. We're going to be having a raffle for the parents that participate. So we're inviting the school board to come and see what the Safety and the Security Department does. Once again, that's Friday, July 28th.
Time?
Thank you. That's going to be from 9 to 12. Thank you.
Thank you. Communication Workers of America.
Good evening, President Walker.
Good evening.
And Superintendent Avila and board members. I only got 2 quick little things. We see that you're going to be voting on a final vote for our contract extension, and I appreciate that, and I'm pretty sure it will fly through very quickly. One other thing I'd like to say is that on June 28th, I believe, you have an open house for your enrollment center. And I got to tell you, congratulations, because I've been working in San Bernardino on an enrollment center for 9 months, and we still aren't anywhere yet. So I hope to be there to see how well you guys have put together something that will increase the number of students you have in your district. So outside of that, it's going to be a hot summer. I hope you enjoy it, and I'm still hoping Oregon takes the College World Series.
Rialto School Managers Association, RSMA. No? Okay, next we'll have our comments from the superintendent.
Thank you, President Walker. In June is the month when elementary and middle school promotions and high school graduations are completed, and school site and support site and central office staff take some time to relax and hopefully rejuvenate themselves over the summer to be excited for the beginning of the next school year. And I have not, in my 23 years in education, have found the formula that works for me. I have found it extremely difficult to take time off and actually enjoy it. I did take a few days off the other day, but sometimes they're more stressful being away from the things that need to be done, trying to enjoy some time at home, and especially if it's coordinated, in this case with the spouse, but being on the phone 2, 3, 4 hours of that day trying to address issues at work. So it's something that I have not figured out yet. Love my job, love to work, but I cannot say that I'm going to take some time off to relax, because that has not worked for the last 23 years. But in spite of that, here we are. And although we have some great student athletes who have won teams, especially that have won titles and or have reached the CIF playoffs in various sports, like football, basketball, baseball, softball, soccer, and wrestling, tonight I do want to just take time to send a big shout out to the Eisenhower High School boys volleyball team for having an amazing season and for making the second round of the CIF playoffs. So to the coaches, players, and fans, congratulations on a job well done. 2 quick announcements. On June 29th, 2017 at 10 a.m., we have the district registration's grand opening. That will be held at 260 South Willow Avenue in Rialto. We are excited to offer a one-stop location where enrollment will be convenient for our parents, and the official date for the DRC to open is July 1st at 7:30 a.m., and it will be open through 4:30 Monday through Friday. We hope to see you there at this grand opening. On Friday, July 28th at 9 a.m., we do have as was mentioned earlier, the RUSD Safety Department will hold a school safety fair at the Cesar Chavez Dolores Huerta Center for Education, located at 324 North Palm Avenue here in Rialto. We invite all of our district families to attend this educational event, which will feature safety demonstrations and introduce our new intervention programs and safety awareness classes. There will be food, vendors, and big giveaways, so we hope to see you there. Yesterday, I had the opportunity to participate in the annual summit with county superintendents hosted by the county superintendent of schools, Mr. Ted Alejandre. And I just want to emphasize the importance on focusing on the whole child. And I do want to share with the community, with the board, I made a commitment this coming school year that may or may not be well received, and that's okay. But I'm going to do everything that I can to see to it that it is achieved. And that is a challenge to have every 3rd grade kid this year read at or above 3rd grade level before the end of the school year. I know we've talked about it and we hear of the research and the impact that it has on kids who do not read at grade level when they leave 3rd grade. But I think it's time that we more intentionally do something about it, which is why, as a district, I want to thank the board for the support it has given me in investing heavily in 0 to 5. We are in full swing with our literacy initiative, which includes offering courses in English and Spanish to expecting moms or moms with kids 0 to 3, because we know that during the first 3 years is where the kids' brains, for the most part, develop. And so we want to continue that, as you've heard before, with our Footsteps to Brilliance initiative that gives all the kids access to literacy. But now it's time really to work with site administration, with teachers, especially 3rd grade teachers, to have a game plan so that we are not just talking about it, so that we're not just putting a program in place without any specific goal in mind. And so I do want to focus on 3rd grade, but the challenge, or the opportunity rather, is to also, what are we doing for kids who are leaving us in 12th grade? I can't wait for the 3rd graders to get to 12th grade before they receive those services. So we're trying to address the issues on both ends. And then, of course, the obvious question is always asked, what are we doing for middle schools? Because that's where we have the tendency for students to drop off, whether it's for behavioral, for their own development, or because of their development, they go through so many changes where their academic interest and performance takes a huge dip, what is it that we can do as a district for our middle schools and work with all of our middle schools to make sure that we address those concerns there so that kids coming into middle school who are performing sustain or improve that performance, and kids that are not coming prepared, that we have a game plan to make sure that we catch them up, because we know the challenges faced at the high school when those kids show up as ninth graders reading 2 to 5 grades behind grade level, and the again, the challenges that they face in trying to do something with those kids. So we are taking a multi-approach effort, but for me, I'm going to really emphasize third grade this year, not to neglect the others, but as a superintendent, I just feel that it's an investment for the future of this community that I'm going to really take a handle on. And so I have challenged Dale Marsden, our superintendent in San Bernardino City Schools, to this, and I told Mr. Alejandro that I'm going to do this in the region, and whether we are first to reach 100% or not won't matter. It's again the investment in the entire community that's going to have the impact, and we'll see the investment in return in the years to come. So superintendents who might get wind of this message, here we come. Rialto is going to put you up to the challenge to have 100% of our third graders read at or above grade level. And now our RUSD alumni spotlight comes from Carter High School. Want to recognize Ivana Quesada, who graduated from Carter High School in 2014. She is currently finishing up her degree from Azusa Pacific University in Fine and Studio Arts. Ivana was the grand prize winner of the Regional Congressional Art Competition, which was displayed in Washington. She and her family were flown to DC to view it. Currently, she is interning at the Actual Size Gallery in Los Angeles, working on research and art handling. We wish Ivana great success in her future endeavors.
Thank you. Now we have from board member Ms. Nancy O'Calley.
Well, I'm going to tell you what, I had something I wanted to share, but I'm going to wait till another board meeting because we have a very long agenda, and I know we have to meet after the board meeting. So I'm just going to say thank you all for being here. Welcome, Frisbee. We are listening to you. We do hear you. So rest assured. And please keep cool in the heat as much as you can. And I'm going to move back to President Walker.
Thank you, thank you. And next we'll hear from board member Mr. Ayala.
Thank you, President Walker. I just want to comment briefly on the whole child approach. I think we're moving in the right direction there. I'm glad that we have the resources to participate in these areas. The Clay counseling is excellent, especially when I hear that if there's an emergency that comes up, that it will be addressed. And our kids definitely need the counseling. They need opportunities to walk into a safe room because every day something is happening to our children. And it's good to hear that we're offering those opportunities for them. I know a lot of us here tonight took time out of your busy schedules, especially with this heat, to participate. And my hat's off to you for sharing your comments, and you are being heard. I assure you, you're being heard. I just can't confirm, the timeliness of resolving issues, but I'm confident that this board and the superintendent, the cabinet, will find ways to make amends. I'll conclude by saying, with the sun and the heat, if you're a parent with child, precautions, please. Wear hats, wear sunglasses, carry water with you. These containers they sell nowadays are well insulated. It'll keep your water cool all day long. Take it one step farther. If you have a litmus paper, test your water. Believe it or not, here in our Rialto area, our water tests better than the bottled water that you buy in the stores. Keep in mind, a lot of that bottled water is sitting in a parking lot somewhere, getting sun rays, where the plastic is permeating with the water. This is not a commercial, but I'm telling you right now that the water from Rialto is over 7.0, and that's a good thing because it takes you away from the acidity, and it puts you in an alkaline test, a state which is better for your health. So in summary, stay cool, be cool, by supporting and educating your children with heat and sunlight safety. Thank you very much.
Next, we'll hear from Board Clerk, Mr. Montez.
Thank you, Miss Dina Walker, Board President. And I just want to piggyback off what Mr. Ayala was mentioning regarding water. Please remember to stay hydrated. It's really easy to sometimes mistaken thirst for hunger, and I've been noticing a lot of more and more cases of dehydration amongst all ages in our society. So remember to stay hydrated. Thank you for the reminder, Mr. Ayala. I do want to say that I do want to start by thanking the Pbis staff for coming here tonight and continuing the dialogue at our board meetings. And I too agree that it would be good. And it should be done, whether it's myself and Mr. Ayala or whether it's other board members, to continue that dialogue at Frisbee Middle School with the Frisbee Middle School community, the staff, the parents, and admin there. And someone mentioned maybe even going above that and going to other schools to do the same. I think it does give a different level and opportunity for expression and I want to say, as Ms. Goodlow mentioned, sometimes even if the conversations are uncomfortable, they have to be had. They have to take place. So thank you for that. I do want to say regarding the comment that people say Frisbee is a bad school or that Frisbee has a bad rap. I've heard that here at these board meetings more than once, and I just want to say that I don't believe any of our schools are bad. And if anyone out there is saying that any of our schools are bad or that our district is bad, we can combat that by not believing that, not repeating it, and doing everything that we can to make sure that we're proving people wrong. When people say things over and over and over and over and over, it tends to at one point, sooner or later, be perceived as truth. And I want to make sure that Frisbee's getting the support that it needs. So I'm willing to continue to go and meet with the staff there and the parents there to make sure that we support as much as we can. Do understand that there are certain things that this district and this school board will not be able to do, but that's what the dialogue is for, to see what we can do to support you, to see what we can do to meet you halfway, and really for the benefit of not only your school site but of our district. So I do look forward to continuing that. And I invite any of the other board members who would like to join me or go with other board members. We're limited to how many can go at any one given time. I do want to mention regarding the 8th grade promotion ceremony that when this board decided to, actually it was, the recommendation was made to this board. And when the board decided to go ahead and allow all of the 8th graders in our district to take part in the promotion ceremony, the board believed at the time that it was a good idea. And I continue to believe that it's a good idea, because if we exclude our kids at that age, at 8th grade, I believe that the impact of excluding them from taking part in that ceremony not only could be more detrimental, but it can set them up. What do they look forward to going into high school? High school's so fearful for many 8th graders. High school is such a big, it's like starting all over again, middle school, for many 9th graders. And if they go in with that fear and that anxiety, and they weren't allowed to participate in the 8th grade promotion ceremony because they're going on anyway, what message are we sending them if we tell them, no, you weren't good enough? You didn't qualify. You legally can't walk. That's just my, I'm just sharing my opinion, and it's solely my opinion regarding the 8th grade promotion ceremonies. I've been a board member 6 years, and I have seen some cases where some people are really upset about not being able to participate. But since we opened it up, I've seen nothing but happy faces. Those 8th grade promotion ceremonies sometimes look even more happier, or just as happy as the graduations. Those 8th graders pack Carter High School or wherever we have them, and people are having to almost sit on the floor because there's no room. People are standing, and it's a very happy moment for parents and for students and their families to participate in the 8th grade promotion ceremony, regardless of whether the families and regardless of whether the families know if the students' GPA qualified them to walk or not. Just the fact that they've made it, that they're hanging in, they're hanging on, they're hanging in there, they're gonna move on, I think is enough for them to celebrate. And I just wanted to share that with you. But you guys do bring a lot of good concerns forward regarding some policy concerns that we could always take a look at. And like Mr. Ayala was saying, some things are going to take a little bit of time. We won't be able to do things much sometimes from one meeting to the next, but it doesn't mean that we're not considering and looking into a lot of the good concerns that are being brought forth. I do want to thank Mr. Ron Fletcher for reminding us and actually stealing some of the thunder for Dr. Avila for inviting everyone, mentioning the grand opening for the registration center. The registration center is coming back. For those of you who don't know, we used to have it for many years before, and it worked really well. And I'd like to see, if not already, I'd like to see the community healthcare clinic come back that was there before. I actually received a free service there myself when I first got elected to this board. We were required to take TB tests and whatnot, and I went and I got mine done there, free of charge, as a member of this community, as a parent of this community, and everything that I learned about the services provided to the students and children of this community, a lot of free services that was being given there. I'd like to see that come back if it's not in the plan already. But the registration center worked really well, and I was really sorry to see it shut down. And I fought tooth and nail to try to prevent that. But that's water under the bridge, like Mr. Ayala says. So I'm glad that it's coming back, and I know that it'll succeed again. What better way to centralize the school registrations than one central place, and really make it a lot easier for parents to get their kids registered. They know where to go every year. They don't have to worry about finding out where they can't go. And Dr. Avila, I just want to commend you on your goal. You know, you're setting a really high goal. But I believe it can be achieved. And like I always say, hit it high so that the higher you hit, even if you got to come down a little bit, you'll get a little more. So I do want to mention, though, that when you say you're making it your goal, what you're really saying is you're making it everyone's goal. So thank you for that, and I'm sure that board members included, we have no problem at all helping and supporting that goal in whatever way that we can. And last but not least, I want to thank the parents that continue to come to the board meetings and be involved. Sometimes the parents speak, sometimes the parents don't, but they listen. And whether they come to the board meetings here, or whether they watch them at home or online, they're watching. So thank you for your presence, and thank you for your involvement. And I look forward to continuing to also support you in whatever way that we can, which is also part of what this board was elected to do. So thank you, gracias, thank you, buenas noches, thank you.
Next, we'll hear from Vice President Martinez.
Thank you, President Walker. There's a lot to convey, but I'm going to give you little snippets of that much down to that much, if at all possible. Congratulations to, I believe it's Carter Cheer. They went for a 3-fer. They are national champs again. Saw that this afternoon. Okay, my wife told me that a dog was left in the car, got up to 133. So don't leave people, pets in your car, computers, anything that you value, don't leave them in the car. It's too darn hot. Beginning June 1st, per ed code, this board is taking a pay cut. And I'm letting you know because we are being responsible and holding ourselves accountable. So we are going from $750 a month to $400 a month beginning June 1st. Per ed code, it's linked to the ADA or the actual attendance numbers. So under 25,000, we're under 25,000, so we get that negative stipend. Okay, we are about to go into some hard times in 18-19, and we are starting to plan for those. Going on the road costs money, so I don't see that coming forth anytime soon. That's extra over and above meeting here. PERS and STIRS contributions from the district are expected to go up or to triple within 10 years. More money. And as you know, previously I've said that the highest cost is paychecks and benefits for our staff. We're up at about 80% right now, down from 90%. Heading in the right direction. It all has to do with Sacramento and whether they're going to give us money or not, which means Prop 98 is being delayed from current, and we may get it in 2019. So all these things, it was once said that now is the time to not spend money on things that eat and breathe. So that means staffing. So we're starting to plan for that now. So if we're tenuous on spending money, including raises, you'll know why. Speaking for myself, I would prefer to keep everyone employed because that's good for kids. On the other side, if we get rid of people and give raises, that's good for staff. I want to be very clear. Kids first, staff second, community third. I'm speaking for myself. Policies, all the hard work and ideas you've gotten are great, but I've yet to see this board take a policy that didn't come from California School Boards Association. When you look in our policy, which is online, Gamut online, thank you. And the login, the password, and the username is Rialto. Password is public. It is available to anybody to look up policies. Okay, let's see. The maintenance project for years, and I'm talking probably 5 years at least, we did not have a deferred maintenance plan. I just finally saw a deferred maintenance plan come across in my board packet. That being said, everything has to be planned over a 5-year period of time. So they're spending a little bit over 5 years in some areas, having to do other things in other areas, still leaving enough to keep people employed, health and welfare benefits as best we can, keep the schools up to snuff best we can, do the best we can for kids with what we have, and we're going to have to continue to stretch that dollar. think that's about it. So I agree with everything that's been said. We are hearing you, but the response that as an adult I've learned is yes, no, or it's not time. And right now, the superintendent spends a lot of time here. And I know we've got 30 sites. So when one site is demanding a lot of attention, a bomb better have gone off. Simple as that. He doesn't have time to hold everybody's hand or them hold his attention. He's focusing on kids, parents, staff, and community. I don't mean to be blunt or coarse, but trying to keep it to a time limit. So hear it all very positive and loving. That's the tenor of that I intended to deliver it in that much time. Thank you, President Walker.
Thank you. And I just have one thing in the interest of time as well. Mr. Brinker, that the comments that you asked about or the points that you made, can you email those to the ones from tonight? I got your other letters from before, but for tonight, just email me those. Thank you. And so we're going now into public hearing. Public hearing. Okay, do I have a motion to move into public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Excellent. And this time is at 9:08. And the public hearing is any person wishing to speak on the item on the public hearing agenda will be granted 3 minutes. Public hearing pursuant to the requirements of the governmental code and board policy, the form for public disclosure of proposed collective bargaining agreement, AB 1200, statutes of 1991, Chapter 1213, as revised by AB 2756, statutes of 2004, Chapter 25, Government Code 3547.5, between the Communication Workers of America, CWA, and Rialto Unified School District Board of Education. It is hereby posted in the compliance with the legislative requirements for public notice. Is there any discussion? Nope, no
There are none.
discussion, anything? Okay, excellent. Do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? No? And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Consent calendar items. All items on the consent calendar will be acted upon in one motion unless pulled by Board of Education members or the superintendent for individual action. Are there any pulls at this time?
H7.
H7. And is that all? Okay, excellent. Okay, do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar items minus H7?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion stands. And let's go ahead and hear any of your discussion, your questions on H7.
Okay, well, I don't know if Iris is here or Mohammed want to answer this one?
Yes, I will.
She's not here.
What I don't understand, the original contract for Nolan Construction Services was $49,300, correct?
That's correct.
They couldn't do a whole lot of the work because of the rain, correct?
That's correct.
So why don't they just come back and do the work? We've already paid them the contracted amount.
Well, the previous contract was through December 30, June 30, as we're in June right now, and it is they block their time to serve our project. They have a staff, so it's not their fault that they could not serve because of we have unforeseen conditions, and which we
Well,
didn't.
why should we pay for it?
I'm sorry.
I don't understand why we should pay for that. We paid them the full amount already. Now they want $27,000 more dollars because it rained and they couldn't do the work. But are we not negotiating contracts to make sure that we're not going to wind up in these situations? We shouldn't be conditional upon the weather.
If I may, Miss clarification. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Is this a change order, or is this, as Ms. O'Kelly is stating, that because the rain had postponed construction.
We're extending it 6 months.
And it's well, I understand postponing work because of the rain. Certain industries don't work when it's raining. But is it true what like Ms. O'Kelly is saying that because of that we have to pay extra?
That's what they're asking us to approve.
Mr. Monte, this is not a change order. This is extension of the contract. So we
Yes, but it's not our fault that the contract, just like you're saying it's not their fault that they couldn't do the work.
Right.
It's not our fault that it rained either. It should still be the same original price, and they just have to make up the work now.
Well, what I meant by is this a change order? Is that the kind of the concept that is being applied here, where they quoted, they asked for a certain amount of money to do the work, and now they have to change the amount of money that they're going to charge the district because of a reason which Ms. O'Kelly is saying is the rain.
Well, that's what it says in the write-up.
Well,
was
the
due to the
contract, no contract does any contingency language about the weather or unforeseen conditions. You don't negotiate a contract things we don't know. So the value of the contract was good through June 30th for the certain fixed price that's negotiated. And whether because of the unforeseen conditions, the inspectors is assigned, hired to do the job. It's like you hired me to do my work every day. Certain conditions, maybe I did not produce enough today, but I did produce more tomorrow. But this value of the contract is only for the locking time, the time we negotiate through June for the service that they have to provide, as it called, inspections. Now the project could not complete according to our previous timeline and schedule time, where.
So when did the original contract begin?
It was. I
It
believe
ended June 30th. So when did it begin?
I believe, again, I don't have the confirmed date, Mr. Miscali. I can double check. I think it's from the beginning of the project.
Well, when was and that would
Well,
be.
it rained a long
that
time
would be
ago, right? I
it
mean,
would
it
be
rained-
approximately
months
when.
ago?
Again,
Since June 15, 20.
When we have not had rain for months now, really.
Yeah, the previously the contract was approved June 15, 2016.
Okay, so that $49,000 contract covered an entire year, of which it rained maybe 3 months, and they could not get their work done, and they want $27,000 more dollars.
But it's not only the rain, other unforeseen factors such as other agency. I shared this with you at the previous items, as you recall. Other agency like a Southern California Edison's gas company, their regulations, compliance, we have to comply with this project, which is beyond our control. Even our own city government regulations, we have to comply. This is
Well, I don't think the contract should be based on a length of time. It should be based on the work completed.
Yeah, our projected time was that the project will be completed by June 30th. So we built that schedule according to the expected timeline. We have no knowledge about other regulations will delay the project. It's a delay the project not because of the rain, because other unforeseen conditions we didn't know.
You know, I'm sorry, you know how I feel about this. We are constantly paying these contractors and companies more money. They think the schools have deep pockets and they are going to get as much as they can. I'm sorry, that's the way I feel. And I'm fed up with it. This is money that should be going to our children.
But Mrs. Cali, this is again, I'm not trying to speak on behalf of the contractor. You are absolutely correct. We negotiate, we work hard to make sure every dollar we pay is an investment for us. But unfortunately, again, I'm going to say this, it's not only rain caused the delay, other regulations required by this project. Again, this is a public project, and other agency rules and regulations, we have no knowledge. Again, we never build CNG stations. And as we're moving forward, we're learning a lot of requirement which we didn't know. So our timeline, you may say it may be unreasonable timeline. If we known other regulations, enforcing this project, we may not say our project will complete by June 30, maybe we'll say December. And then we'll have a full contract at that time, and you don't have to do this tonight, what you're doing, asking for extension of the contract. So it is a timeline we build in the beginning of the project, and we negotiate the contract with the inspector.
Then can we not put a clause in those contracts that says if for any reason, if there is hazardous weather conditions that prohibit the work from being done by this deadline, then we will extend it for the same price for another month or so? I don't know. There's got to be something. We've got to have some protection here.
Question.
Yes.
If I remember right, most of these contracts have a presumption of time, meaning an inspector is paid so many, $65 an hour, arbitrary number, I don't remember. Did they actually report to work, or is this going to be a gift of public funds, which we could have some possible recourse?
They did the work because of the change required. The other requirement, they have to come back and re-inspect.
Okay.
It's
So
like
they
you
did
building
spend
a
time.
It's like building a patio. You give a contractor. He did not comply with the CG regulations. The inspector has to come back and do re-inspections of the same job again. So he's coming back because the other regulations require that he has to come back and re-inspect the project.
So they did actually spend the time.
Yes, it is absolutely correct that the fees is not the it's based on the work and the hourly rate. And I don't have this rate in the agenda, but the fact of the matter, we negotiate that fee through the contract and for the duration of the project.
Mr. Montez?
Yeah, and if it's okay, I just would like to remind you, Mr. Islam, I did ask for a report on the change orders that we've had. I don't know if you could go back, a few years. If that's too much work, we can wait for it, but it'd be good for the board to get a report on how many change orders and contract amendments we've had over the last 2 or 3 years and why. Like just a summary. You don't have to go into detail, but just a summary of why the contracts were changed or extended. It would help us understand a little better, I think, the process and the reasoning why. I get it that this is not uncommon, but if we see a pattern, like Ms. O'Kelly, mentioned previously, we want to make sure that we're doing everything on our part, and that the people that are contracted to provide these services are also doing everything on their part. I think it'd help us get a little more insight and educate the board a little more on the different types of occurrences, unforeseen factors, so that we're not at every meeting or every other board meeting questioning every single thing regarding changing a contract from 30 grand to 80 grand, overnight, for whatever the reasons may be. If you could do that, I'd appreciate it. If it's okay with Dr. Avila, to have them provide us. Doesn't have to be a huge, long, detailed report like the like the financial report we received in our packets, but just something small and sweet, really. I think it would help us. It would help us get a lot of our questions, and if any questions come from that report, then we can forward them to you and give you guys sufficient time to get us some information on it. But I'm really interested in getting something like that. That's okay, Dr. Avila.
Mr. Montes, are you referring to CNG project?
No, Ms. O'Kelly and myself have questioned various change orders and contract extensions, amendments. Just in general, I think it would help us understand a lot of the different factors that are involved in you know, it doesn't feel good when we approve a contract and then later it comes back, you know, for a higher amount. It makes us wonder, well, why weren't some of these contracts?
Right.
Sometimes we want to save money and we want to go with the lowest responsible
And
bidder.
then they add to it.
But, you know, sometimes you also get what you pay for. And sometimes cheaper costs more.
But let me. I'm not a construction expert. Construction industry change orders is pretty normal. I mean, even I can speak for my own backyard. I did a work contractor, then I changed, modified some of the things I didn't like it. That cost me extra money. I have to bring that as a change order, meaning contractor has to I have to pay extra money. But the fact of the matter, what I'm saying, in the construction industry, any project, you know, when you're dealing with the construction example, Eisenhower project, it is not unusual that you will not have no change order. I mean, if we don't have no change order, that will be a surprise to me.
We just have constant change orders. Almost everything has a change order or an amendment or a ratify. All those words I do not like.
Dr. Avila, you had a comment?
Yeah, and just, I guess to try to clarify, Muhammad, I think part of the concern is that if we ourselves are not experts per se, we should have staff who should be able to vet these kind of contracts coming back to us. And we should have some kind of way to communicate what is the original contract, what are the changes, and why the changes, so that contractors are not just coming up with 10 more things and we will accept it because we trust them because they're the experts doing the actual work. So I think we're asking for a process that's a lot more transparent and that holds not only our staff but also contractors accountable for not just coming up. We know changes happen from time to time, but it should be very clear that those changes are justified.
And Dr. Avila, we do that as we have a staff, our facility teams and construction team and program management. My point is that's the reason we bring to you back to the board. For you, without your approval, nothing can be in place. No change order, no contract amendment can take place. We give you the brief write-up on the agenda. Perhaps we need to give a little more detail as a memo to you, understand before item on the agenda, so you'll have a better understanding. Because we can write more detail. What you see on the agenda is not too much detail.
Yeah.
So perhaps a memo would be help the board to have a clear understanding. Why is this happening and what are we doing?
Okay, Mr. Martinez.
Yes, and if you are going to go to that trouble of going back a couple of years and compiling the information, please add the contractor or the vendor name or business name. If it's the same vendor over and over again, maybe
There's
we
a
need to look
problem.
otherwise.
Serious problem.
President Walker?
Okay. Yes, and I'm going to have to pass this over to you, Mr. Martinez, for a moment. Yes, go ahead, Mr. Ayala.
Yeah, just comment in support of the project. I understand the concerns here. I realize we're a little bit vulnerable, and I would make a recommendation that we definitely come up with a break-even point for the CNG station so that when these issues come up again, we can communicate to our community that, yes, we're a little bit vulnerable, but we're close. We're getting closer. And I'm guessing we're going to have somewhere between 48 and 72 months before we break even, something like that. And when we do, it's going to turn around in our favor. We're probably looking at over $1 million a year in positive for this district, which is unprecedented in other school districts. We're very fortunate to have this project, which is not the issue here. The issue is being taken advantage of and feeling a little vulnerable. But it would probably ease tensions a little bit, at least for this one project, if we have that break-even point to explain to our community the benefits. And when you look at the benefits that we're going to receive, I think it'll ease a little tension. And I just wanted to bring that point up. Thank you.
We've had no, unfortunately. Thank you. Yeah, I forgot the gavel was handed over.
Next
Okay.
meeting? Next meeting? Next meeting.
Possibly, yes. That's a good idea. Okay, is there anything else, Ms. O'Kelly?
No.
Okay, we've gone through that. Now we'll go to discussion
Wait.
items.
We still
Yes,
have to
sir.
vote on it.
Thank you.
Yeah. And before we do, can we get a summary report?
Yes. Yes, we can.
Okay.
But the
Doesn't have to be huge and detailed, just
clear.
so you're not talking about only CNG project, you're talking about any and other projects.
change orders and contract extensions.
I'll meet with the staff and
Okay.
go over it.
Thank you, Dr. Avila. Okay, on item 7, with H7, which was pulled and discussed, we need a first and a second.
So
motion.
moved.
Okay. Do we have a second? I'll make the second. And if I could.
Impasse here. We need a third.
Yeah, no,
vote.
I think we will be.
We might have to wait.
I'll approve it.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's
Okay.
Get us that report.
Okay, so we do have 3 votes. Thank you. Ms. Walker will have to leave, so I don't know what the status is. So now we are moving on to K. Okay, discussion action items. Approve Rialto Unified School District Local Control and Accountability Plan for fiscal year 2017-2018 with the purpose of identifying and meeting annual goals for all students with specific actions and services to address state and local priorities. Can I have a motion, please?
So move.
Second? Do we have
Second.
Thank you.
Discussion?
Yes, please, go ahead. Ms. O'Kelly?
Yes, I have a few questions regarding the LCAP. First of all, I think you have to be up there. Oh, okay, because you have a mic, okay. Okay. First of all, in the LCAP, it states that the data would be disaggregated, yet none of it is. Why? And again, no data should be considered invalid because it is cumbersome to monitor. It's the district's job and responsibility to monitor the data. So, you know, in this sense, I feel if we're turning it in, we did not get a final edition of the LCAP, so I'm sure, assuming it did not change from our previous board meeting, and it seems somewhat incomplete because of missing data or data that has been labeled as invalid.
So the data that you, I'm not sure if this is on or not, but the data that you did request to be disaggregated, I had included in a final copy and had sent that page forward to be shared with the board members.
Okay, that's the page we received?
Correct.
Okay, well, there was some discrepancies there because my understanding is that state metrics are like the CASP test and local metrics are what we are doing ourselves in the district. Like it used to be the benchmarks. I'm not quite sure what it is anymore. So like on number 6 of the page you sent, it said local metric, 8th grade students at grade or above level in math based on the CASP. CASP shouldn't be mentioned if it's a local metric. So why is CASP mentioned?
So many of the metrics that were on the prior year LCAP, I actually had not been involved with the way that they were written. So that's where I said there were certain times where we could not actually produce that data because what was being requested could not be clarified so that that data could actually be pulled. So if the metric was written in a certain way and then it's unknown exactly how that data was meant to be reported, it could not be reported.
Well, my concern is that, like in that same section where we're talking about the CASP data, you look at like the 14-15, it was 14%. 15-6, this is for math. 15-16's goal was to increase to 16%, and it wound up being 14%, so there was no growth. But then it seemed to be compared to the 8th grade students with a C or better in math, 64%. Now, to have that huge of a discrepancy between the way they're testing and the grades they're being given concerns me. That means we are not teaching what they're being tested on, basically Common Core, or we're not teaching it in the right manner. And it's the saying they got a C or better is not representative of grade level if only 16% could get that on the test. The two, it's apples and oranges, and they're not anywhere near close to each other. That concerns me. So why are we comparing two different things? The same in the box below, it says the CASP scores are not the same as the Dibbles scores. The Dibbles were at 55%, but on the CASP, the grade 3 reading was at 28%. So they're still pretty far apart. We can't compare them against each other as any growth measure or comparison. I don't understand.
So what you're describing are the pages from the annual update. And so the annual update was taking the metrics that were proposed in the prior year LCAP and trying to make sure that we provide that follow-up data. If you look at the new year LCAP, which I believe starts on page 67 roughly, that's where we are proposing changes to those metrics as well as both the state and the local. And like one of the other things that's on the agenda tonight, the iReady contract, because we are having that issue where we're not able to compare apples to apples. That's been something for quite some time. I've really been trying to get us as a district to do so that we can predict what our performance will be at the end of the year. We've known for a very long time that grades do not correlate to performance on the standardized testing. So what we do not want to do in the LCAP is make that comparison to the grades to another performance assessment. So it is proposed in the new LCAP to have that alignment. And I do know in a previous meeting I had provided some information to the board as far as the way I was proposing lining up those state metrics with local metrics internally that wouldn't be reported in the LCAP, but we would still be monitoring throughout the course of the year with the intention to be able to have that higher correlation of how students are performing on a trimester or a quarterly basis with the results that we would see in the LCAP. So really, those pages you're describing, my goal was to kind of wrap those up, make it known that we needed to put more intention into those metrics, and we had that guidance from the state and the county over this past year. So we're really wanting to remove many of those metrics that you're questioning because they were confusing.
And I understand that, but I also know that since the state, we went through a few years there that we really had no accountability. And I think everybody took a big sigh of relief, and our performance has plummeted because there was no accountability. I don't even know how we're going to get it back up, but I do know enough to know that we need regular monitoring at every grade level, all the way up through 11th grade of some kind or another. We have to have at least quarterly, benchmarks, whatever you want to call them. And they have to be agreed upon by the teachers and the district, and they have to be put into place. I've mentioned before, when we've been talking on this subject, you have to, in some ways, not teach the test, because there's no way to teach this test anyway, but you have to prepare the kids for the kind of problems they're going to be seeing on the test. If they don't understand what the questions are asking, they're not going to be able to answer them well. We need to have these review materials or whatever we're going to come up with to all the teachers of the kids that are going to be taking the CASP so that they can start at the beginning of the year reviewing, getting the kids comfortable. We used to have one here called the Golden State Exam. I was the queen of the Golden State Exam. They only ever released 30 problems, practice problems. They were very in-depth problems. But I started at the beginning of the year, and one day we took a problem a day because it took quite a bit of class time. When we got to the end of the 30, we started over again, and I just changed the numbers a little bit or something. But they were getting the processes in their heads. We can't just assume they're picking that up in the classroom. They have to know what the test is asking.
Can I respond real quickly? So I completely agree with everything that you're saying, and it is on the item, a later item on the agenda tonight, because that accountability, while the state took a break and we kind of followed along, So one way to get that back is to make sure we have that consistent monitoring during the school year.
Well, I know, I think you're talking about iReady,
I am,
right? But
correct.
my one concern with that is it doesn't do anything for our 9th and 10th grade.
Yes,
So
it
what
does.
are-
It does. It actually, you can assess the students all the way from kindergarten through 12th grade. And
I heard that it only went up to 8th grade.
no, that's not correct. We could talk about that during that item if you'd like, but there's additional resources for grades K through 8.
Okay,
But the
you can
assessment
present
and the
that
monitoring goes all the way through 12th grade.
when we get to that item. Thank you. Okay, the other concern I had, that it stated that we have held, the district has held an extensive process to consult with various stakeholders during the development of the plan. According to one concerned citizen that, who sent a report to the board, I was very concerned because it seems like almost no parents were involved and no students were involved, but 13 district administrators were involved in the development of the LCAP plan. So this is not a balanced representation of our district at all. So what happened there?
So we had the various meetings for the stakeholders. You know, I worked through, as I shared during the workshop, when I inherited working on the LCAP, I met with the representative from the county to make sure that we met all the areas for compliance. And it's my understanding those invitations were all sent out for those members that would attend those stakeholder meetings that were required. You know, as we've learned with the community, we can't make them come to certain meetings. So, you know, I have talked to Dr. Avila about the way we will change things for next year if I'm still working with the LCAP to really make sure we're much more inclusive to the community and making sure that it's a better representation of our district so we can get that input that we need.
Okay, so basically it was because you inherited it towards the latter end of the year, correct?
Yes, I can only
Okay.
speak for my part, and what
Okay.
was done prior to that I can't speak to.
And I didn't see anywhere in the LCAP that it specifically addressed the programs and support structures we are going to provide for our low-income students and our foster youth.
So there is an item that mentioned that, and really what we're doing, because this was a discussion I had with the county representative, because wanting to know how we needed to make sure that was identified. Our district is such a high percentage of low socioeconomic students that many of the actions that are in the LCAP that apply to all students actually are focusing on that targeted group of students. But one of the things that is written in there is the way we're adjusting the use of our instructional strategists to where they will be the intervention strategists, where they will be working with a very targeted group of students that are underperforming, looking at those demographic breakdown of the students so that we're addressing their needs.
Well, is that written in the LCAP?
It is
And
written in
does
the
it use
LCAP.
the words foster youth and low income so that it's clear that we are addressing those groups, which the LCAP has to address?
It is actually, and on those specific items, I can look those up and get them to you, but they actually, not always in the statement, but they're in the check boxes on the form on the top where you had to say which specific groups you were addressing with that action.
Okay, and that covers my main concern, is we have to have regular and consistent monitoring. All the data has to be included, it has to be disaggregated and whatever, because I don't want to turn in a document and them not like it. I wanted to make sure that we're doing it right.
I appreciate your feedback.
Okay, thank you.
We already have
Any
a
other-
first and a second.
Okay, is there any other discussion on this item? Okay, let's call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay, motion passes. Number 2, adopt the fiscal year, can I move to approve item number 2? Do I have a
So
first?
moved.
Second.
Number 2 is to adopt the fiscal year 2017-18 budget, including commitment of funds and all stated conditions for the following funds: General 01, Adult Education 11, Capital Facilities 25, Child Development 12, Deferred Maintenance 14, Nutrition Services 13, State School Building and Modernization 35, Special Reserve 40, Bond Interest and Redemption 51, and General Obligation Bond 21. Is there any discussion? No? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Motion to approve number 3.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, to approve the, number 3 is to approve the piggyback purchase from various bids and contracts for purchasing furniture, equipment, and services for the 2018 fiscal year without going out to bid, thereby taking advantage of the same terms and conditions in the original awarded bids to be paid from the district general fund and/or categorical funds. Is there any discussion? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Motion passes. Approve item number 4. Do I have a motion to approve bid number 161731 for the purchase of canned goods and condiment products as part of the Pomona Valley Purchasing Cooperative for the 2017-18 fiscal year? The cost of items purchased from this bid will be paid from Fund 13, Nutrition Services Fund. Do I have a motion
So
to
moved.
approve?
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Do I have a motion to approve number 5, approve bid number 011718 FN for the purchase of snack and beverage products as a part of the Pomona Valley Purchasing Cooperative for the 2017-18 fiscal year? The cost of items purchased from this bid will be paid from Fund 13, Nutrition Services Fund. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Discussion.
Okay, yes, sir.
Let's make sure that the snacks are healthy and they're not going to do harm to our kids. Sometimes, I know in the past, we didn't monitor, and it seemed like there was excessive sodium in the products that we were offering our kids, and excessive sugars in the drinks, the beverages. So you put those two together, even though they're attractive to kids, they're actually very detrimental to their health. So I can sleep good. Let's just
We
make sure.
did away with those items a long time ago,
Good.
so we're in good shape.
Good.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Do I have a motion to approve number 6, to approve the extension of bid number RIANS 1516-005 for the purchase of bread products to Galasso's Bakery for the 2017-18 fiscal year? The cost of items purchased from this bid will be paid from Fund 13, Nutrition Services Fund. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Number 7, to approve the extension of bid number RIANS 1516-001 for the purchase of dairy, juice, and ice cream products to the Hollandia?
Yes.
Okay, Hollandia. Hollandia Dairy for the 2017-18 fiscal year. The cost of the items purchased from this bid will be paid from Fund 13, Nutrition Services Fund. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Do I have a motion to approve RFP numbers 1704 for the distribution of USDA commodities and the purchase of frozen food products to Gold Star Foods for the 2017-18 fiscal year? The cost of the items purchased from this RFP will be paid from Fund 13, Nutrition Services Fund. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. To approve the extension of bid number IINS 1516-004 for the purchase of pizza products from Papa John's Pizza for the 2017-18 fiscal year. The cost from this bid will be paid from Fund 13, Nutrition Services Fund. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. To approve number 10, which is to approve the extension of bid number IINS 1617-001 for the purchase of produce products to Gold Star Foods for the 2017-2018 fiscal year. The cost from this bid will be paid from Fund 13, Nutrition Services. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Excellent. To approve number 11, which is the extension of bid number RINS 1516-006 for the purchase of tortilla products to Romero Food Products Incorporated for the 2017-18 fiscal year. The cost from this bid will be paid from Fund 13, Nutrition Services Fund. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Excellent. Motion passes. Number 12, to approve the bid number RINS 2017-18-01 for the purchase of paper products as part of the Pomona Valley Purchasing Cooperative for the 2017-18 fiscal year. The cost of items purchased from this bid will be paid from Fund 13 Nutrition Services Fund. Motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Approve the, number 13, approve the iReady Adaptive Diagnosis Agreement with Curriculum Associates LLC, which includes the iReady Diagnostic and Reading and Mathematics for all students and on-site professional development for all teachers and administration from July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2018, at a total cost not to exceed $222,594.83 to be paid from the general fund. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Nobody, nobody wants
I have discussion.
Okay, thank you. We have discussion, Ms. O'Kelly. You're like, no, we're not gonna approve the food, okay. I mean, the service.
Okay, I have a couple things here. The first one was, does this program cover all grade levels, including 9th and 10th grade?
Yes, it does.
Okay. So we have a test for 9th and like a benchmark like the other grades, or what are we doing in 9th and 10th grade?
Correct. So what happens is you have a diagnostic and placement test that's given. You can give it up to 4 times a year. We're planning for 3 times.
Mhm.
It can be administered for all grade levels 1 through 12. Feedback we received from other districts that have been working with this product for some time really looks at if a student's on grade level at the high school, they tend to do a once a year or maybe a twice a year beginning and end of year. And any student that's not, they administer during that cycle of the 3 times a year.
Well, okay, but are all these diagnostic tests written at the specific grade levels they're going to be given at? It's not just some general.
Correct. They all
generic
start out
test.
at their grade level, and then it's an adaptive assessment similar to the state test, and so it will adjust until it levels where that student is at.
Okay, so.
So
what
then
are
we
you
get a
saying?
report.
So for 9th grade, they're going to, what, take an 8th grade test?
No, they start at a 9th grade level test, but
Okay.
because it's adaptive, if they're performing at grade level, it will go through that process and then report that they're on grade level.
Okay.
If they are performing below grade level, it will again adjust and adapt until it places, this is actually a student that's performing at the 7th grade level. And then based on those results, it then gives recommendations for instruction and intervention so that the teacher and support teachers know where to begin so they can get that student back to grade level.
Okay, and most important, have our teachers been involved in the selection of this program?
They were.
To what extent?
So we went through multiple committee meetings. I actually worked with the RTI Literacy Committee on this part. We had presentations from this company as well as other companies. We also looked at data from the National Center on Response to Intervention. They're a internet or a national company that basically ranks and sorts all of the products that are available. So we looked at this one and 2 others that were ranked high. And then from that part, we then offered to do a pilot program. So we piloted this both at the elementary level and the secondary level. And so we had both teacher and student input at that point. And then once we'd gone through that process, we put it back out for kind of a final yes approval from all of those that have been involved in any capacity, including teachers, administrators, any other teachers that were part of that process, even if they weren't classroom teachers, and we received 100% approval to move forward.
Okay, and these were teachers from every grade, every level,
That
right?
is correct. There was a representation from all levels.
Okay, because.
And in English
if-
and math.
When you invest this amount of money, I have to know the teachers like it and it's going to be used, because otherwise it's useless to us, so.
So keep in mind that part of this amount that's being requested, we are reducing assessments. You've heard from teachers over the
Right.
years that we're assessing students too much. So we are pulling other assessments that they've been giving that we have not been getting the results from.
A number of, you guys reported a number of, isn't Dibbles one of them?
So there's, we're looking at we won't be using Dibbles, we won't be using the STAR assessment, we
Mhm.
won't be using some other ones that were internally generated so that we can put that attention towards this. Now, part of that cost also includes professional development, because of, like you say, if we're gonna invest that amount of money into a product, I wanna make sure people are trained
Right.
and know how to use it and also analyze the data that comes from it. So part of this cost also includes on-site professional development from the company. Because we want to make sure that they understand how important it is to proctor the test correctly so we get valid results, and then what we can do from the data that we get.
And can I assume that we are going to be administering this at least once per quarter?
Yes, we're looking at actually a total of 3 times during the year because we also still have to give the California State Test basically, or the
Right,
the
well,
CAS.
that would be fourth quarter.
That'd be the fourth one.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, is there any more discussion on item 13? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Number 14, approve an agreement with the Access Communication and Education with Sign Language Interpreting Services, ACES, effective July 1, 2017 through June 30th, 2018, at a total cost not to exceed $160,000 to be paid from the Special Education Funds. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Approve item number 15, which is an agreement with Adhar Health Solutions to provide speech-language pathologists effective July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2018, at a total cost not to exceed $140,000 to be paid from special education funds. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Excellent. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Number 16, approve an agreement with Mary Catherine Schneider to provide auditory verbal therapy, AVT, and deaf hard of hearing, DHS services effective July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2018, at a total cost not to exceed $85,000 to be paid from the special education funds. Do I have a motion?
So moved?
Second.
Any discussion? Excellent. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Approve an agreement, number 17. Approve an agreement with Pathways to Speech to provide auditory verbal therapy, AVT services, effective July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2018, at a total cost not to exceed $140,000 to be paid from special education funds. Motion to approve?
So moved?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Excellent. Number 18, approve the agreement with Behavioral Autism Therapies, LLC, effective July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2018, at a total cost not to exceed $70,000 to be paid from special education funds. Motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? All, yes, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, approved. Number 19, to approve an agreement with Goldbook to support the Special Education Department effective July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2018, at a total cost not to exceed $65,000 to be paid from the general fund. Motion to approve.
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Any discussion? Excellent. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Excellent. Number 20, to approve the agreement with the Staff Therapy Rehab effective July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2018, at a total cost not to exceed $150,000 to be paid from the special education funds. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Excellent. Any discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Excellent. Number 21, approve an agreement with Protocol Professional Staffing to provide speech and language pathologists effective July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2018, at a total cost not to exceed $150,000 to be paid from the special education funds. I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Number 22, to award bid number 1617-016 to Burtech Waste Industries Incorporated for a period of 3 years that may be extended by the district for an additional 2 years. The additional years will be in subsequent 1-year periods. Refuse removal and recycling services will be provided for approximately $175,000 annually to be paid from the general fund. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
I've got a question.
Yes, sir.
Were any other bids submitted for waste management?
No.
They're the only
Did the
person.
Did the district send out for
the area?
for
Yes.
bids?
If you
Yes.
read in the back, they're the only one in the area.
Are you sure about that?
I'm positive.
Okay. All right. Just had to ask.
Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Excellent. Number 23, adopt resolution number 161736 to enter in an agreement with the California Department of Education for the 2017-18 Child Development Contract CSPP-7427 and authorizes Muhammad Z. Islam, Associate Superintendent Business Services, as a signer of said agreement. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Approve number 24, which is an agreement with Inland Health Professions Coalition, IHPC, a program of reach out to plan work-based learning opportunities in the health science and medical technology industry sector for secondary students effective July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2018 at a total cost not to exceed $51,500 to be paid from the Career Technical Education Incentive Grant and Carl D. Perkins Career and Technical Education Improvement Act 2006 funds. Motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? I have a question. So for the students who will be taking part in this particular project-based project, how are they selected and what program they're attached to? How will they select them?
Good question.
So I'll answer this to the best of my ability. This is a program that comes from the Inland Health Professional, and it's open to any student in the community. They have an office in the Cesar Chavez Center where they work out from, and referrals are given, and they work with the students and their families.
So how do we, I understand, I know the
So there's an
project,
info-
I'm just trying to figure out how we're paying a portion of the project costs. How do students find out about the program and we know that we're getting, they're completing, or what's the process?
So what I know is that we had last year a parent informational meeting, couple of parent informational meetings, so that parents could come and know about this program and what it offers. And they are also located, they have office hours down there, so the schools can refer kids to them to be able to get these internship opportunities.
Okay. So, and this is our first year working with them on this?
This will be our second year.
Okay. And do we know how many people actually took advantage of the
I
project?
can get that data for you from Miss Smith's Azad.
Okay.
So it's fairly new. They came, I think, the second semester of this year, and then we're continuing them next year.
Okay, and I'm just asking that question because if it's not specific to a school site and you haven't identified a way how we're going to have our participants, we're paying for a project that we don't necessarily have a pipeline, a referral system to?
You asked some good questions, and I
Yeah.
think the statistics are really important to look at how many people took advantage of this,
Yeah.
and how was the information given to the schools. I know that Ms. Azad meets regularly with the principals, and I know flyers were passed out, and I know the person from the Inland Health Professionals Coalition is a person who she worked with Valley College before, and she really is pretty dynamic to reach out to the community too. But I will get you that data in Dr. Avila's update, so you know that.
Okay, yeah, and I'm familiar with the project. I'm
Right.
just wondering, are our students taking
Taking
advantage
advantage.
of it because? Okay, yeah.
Reinforcements?
Okay.
I will.
Are you?
Yeah, go ahead.
Carol Albaugh is the one that heads up this program, and she has a crew of staff members that goes and meets with all of the healthcare career technical classes at the sites. They have been providing field trips for the students and outside programs that they are eligible to participate in. One of them right now is going on at UCR for the summer, so that we do have students that get recommended by their teachers to participate that want to move forward with their education and health careers.
Right.
So they have been servicing all 3 high schools throughout the course of the year, and I believe they did 3 trips this last year with the students.
Okay. And so again, I just need to know, especially if this is our second year, what is the
How many
participation level considering this? I'm just saying.
I know that
Yeah.
all of the teachers have been participating in the program. I can't tell you the number of students because I don't know how many in each of the classes, but I do know that all of the teachers are utilizing the help that this program has given them, and especially with getting the students with hands-on experience in the health career industry.
Right.
I don't know how many students though.
Okay. And then where did Dr. Souza leave it?
No, he's right there.
He's like, Ms. Walker's gonna ask me another question. I'm leaving. Okay.
No.
No. So I just want to see a report. That was it. If this is our second year in implementation and we're contracting out, I just want to see what the results were
Especially
and
for
impact from last year.
51,000,
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
No problem.
That's it. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? One abstention. And I do want to still see, even though it passed, I want to see the report on the participation. Thank you. Okay, number 25, to adopt resolution number 161737, authorizing the procurement of Dell Latitude laptops under master agreement and/or piggyback contract MNWNC-108, WSCA NASPO, California Participating Addendum 71570-34-003, the procurement of Earthwalk carts under Master Agreement Contract, State of California Multiple Award Schedule 31370-06978H, and the delegation of authority to the Superintendent of the Superintendent's designee to execute the equipment lease purchase agreement with Dell Financial Services, LLC, dated June 22nd, 2017, and any other documents required for this transaction. The annual payment will be $2,576,399.26 for a 3-year lease option to buy beginning on or about September 1st, 2017, for the total cost not to exceed $7,729,197.78 to be paid from the general fund. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes.
Oh, yes, Mr. Ayala?
Wi-Fi services for these laptops, will they exist?
Ms. Bethan.
Good evening, Mr. Ayala. Yes, they will.
Excellent. So that means the kids will be able to take these home with them?
No, right now with this rollout, we're going to leave them in the classroom. They are cart sets, so we'll leave them in the class. This is a rollout of a 3-year period. We'll be rolling out for 3rd grade, 6th grade, and then high school math and science classes. And then our goal is to do the following year, we'll do another grade level at at the grade levels.
My thoughts here, that's where they need them almost the most, at home.
And that's something we haven't ruled out, but it's just getting devices in the classroom. We have a lot of old technology in the classroom, and we just finished doing our upgrades to the infrastructure, so we want to make sure the kids have the devices in their hands, so when they're testing and throughout school, they'll have the devices.
One of the big problems that we have is the kids go home, such as with math issues, and they have no one at home to teach them. However, with the technology, and we're moving in the right direction here with these laptops, if they have pre-recorded lessons, obviously you can see where it will benefit these kids when the parent says, "Did you do your homework?" And the kid says, "Well, I have no one to help me." You don't have that excuse no more. All you got to do is look at the video. And if you're not at that level, you go to the one before that, and you keep going backwards until you reach your level. And you mean to tell me you're at 5th grade? See, and then the problems, the communication starts. So that laptop is absolutely imperative with our world today. But somehow we need to get those laptops in their hands at home. So if we can somehow expedite that dream,
yes,
we're
definitely.
going to see that 4% move up.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Or another thing to consider is having the laptops available for them at the schools after school. More and more kids with their smartphones. Not all kids have smartphones, but more and more kids with their smartphones are doing their homework with their smartphones. But it's nice for them to have that technology in the classroom because more and more, especially the youth, are moving towards laptops or convertible.
The 360 devices where they actually flip over. That's a tablet,
right,
and it's a computer at the same time.
Right, and then too, we want to take into consideration the disastrous failure of LA Unified a few years back, where it was just a big millions and millions of dollars, good intentions, but it just didn't work out the way we would like to dream for it to work out.
Well,
but I do agree that would be the ultimate. That'd be the ultimate.
No question there. But there is another component to this. Like laptops. If you don't have the Wi-Fi services available beyond the school district, they need a hotspot, or you need to log into someone else's
The library.
But, you know, you have the 3G, but there are communities that invest with the schools, and the whole city has the Wi-Fi. So this could be maybe discussions that we could have with the city and the school district, and then all of a sudden our senior citizens benefit, everyone who lives within the community. They don't all have to go to Starbucks.
Save everybody money.
There you go. Just a thought here. You know, we want to move in a positive direction.
Yeah, no, it's a good idea.
I know, because this is a big ticket item here, probably the biggest one we're going to have.
Mr. Martinez?
How are we on timeline for bring your own device?
We'll be starting that at the beginning of this school year, August 7th.
Okay, so all those cell phones are coming to school.
Yes.
Oh, they've been coming to school.
Well,
That started a long
We're just not
time
gonna
ago.
confiscate them now, or okay? Are no other questions? Oh, Dr. Avila.
Just a statement, and if Bethany, you can help me with the numbers here, but we are looking at a 3-year investment of approximately 30 million. Is that correct?
Well, it's actually 7, so over 3 years, it's going to be about 21 million.
But once we have them all in the classrooms?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Approve number 26, approve an agreement with the Think Together Incorporated, a nonprofit corporation for the purpose of providing the after-school education and safety ACES program at 18 elementary and 5 middle school sites in the district. The term of the contract will be July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2018, with an option to renew for 2 subsequent years. Payment not to exceed 100% of the awarded grant of $2,600,072, $276.58 for the 2017-2018 fiscal year, and fees will be renegotiated to subsequent years if the district exercises renewal options. So I have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Discussion.
Mr. Martinez?
What is going on at the 19th elementary site?
Right, nothing.
Is,
So-
there she is.
Oh,
Ms.
okay.
Brantley.
And that will be Fitzgerald. What's going on at Fitzgerald for after-school programming?
Okay, so Fitzgerald is our only elementary school that does not have after-school program, and this is due to the fact that in order to receive the grant, the most significant data point that the state looks at to award that grant is the free and reduced lunch numbers. Now, 10 years ago when the grant started, schools probably as low as a threshold of 80% were getting awarded the grant. Now, 10 years later, that threshold is higher, so school sites that are being awarded the grant are probably closer into the 90% free and reduced lunch. Last year, we tried to do a big push at Fitzgerald to get at least every parent to do the application, because sometimes parents will think, well, I won't qualify, but you never know, in hopes that we would determine whether they were up higher than to meet that threshold, and they didn't. We did put an application in last year, and so they still didn't get the grant from the state. However, we did get a quote from Think Together to see if, as Fitzgerald is doing their strategic plan, if it's possible for that to be part of their strategic planning, and if we could bring it through that way through LCAP funds. So.
Does Cordiac have it?
Yes.
Yes.
They're
Right.
They're right
Yes.
there too.
But
So
they-
how did they
yes.
qualify? Do we
Um,
bus a bunch of kids up to Cordiac?
You know, I'm not 100% sure about the
We do.
busing and so forth, but they whatever students are there, they qualify to receive the grant. So Fitz is our only school.
So my question was, and I've talked to Dr. Avila about that too, because I've had, for the last 2 years, parents asking me, how come Fitzgerald doesn't have an after-school program? What are we going to do about that? And we've had our discussion about this, and even with this current contract, and what are the options to do that? Because even if they're doing their strategic plan right now, when would that be an opportunity for parents to have the service available for their students? Or what would be the earliest?
In-house, there's
Well-
the option too.
No, well, that's there are a couple of strategies that can be happen. This is just one through
Right.
utilizing the LCFF dollars, but
Right.
so if they were able to do that and agreed to do that, how soon could that
The
be
sooner the
implemented?
better. I mean, and Dr. Avila would have to speak to the strategic planning and decisions being made about funds in that manner. But the sooner the better, especially if we want to just duplicate the exact same program at Fitz, then Think Together could provide that program. But
Dr. Avila?
Yeah, and
did you
just
want
be aware for the board, I know Ms. Walker is aware of this, that initially Think Together had proposed an agreement that didn't include approximately $86,000 that they wanted the district to cover in order to provide the same service that they've been providing over the years. And we entertained the idea initially, but after renegotiating, we were able to get them to cover the 100% of the contract, which does leave that 86,000 that we had initially committed to available for us to consider providing the service at Fitzgerald.
Okay.
That would be great.
So, yes, and so we need to figure out, because there still is, even if they haven't met the current threshold for CDE for the ACES grant, there still is a very high number of now of families who are free reduced lunch. And I know I'm in the Fitzgerald neighborhood, and there are several, including my own daughter, couldn't go to Fitz because there's no aftercare. So she had to go to Trapp, and because there's aftercare. So there are many families in that area do need the service, and they've contacted, like I said, for the last 2 years, asking, Ms. Walker, what are you gonna do? So here's an opportunity from there, so we to really be creative and figure that out and work with the school site to move forward.
Could
from
you see
there.
the feasibility of that and bring us a plan if it's feasible?
Of course.
No, yeah. Question?
Yeah, no, I'm saying it can be
Yes.
done, you know, if we have the quote, you know, if we can determine that the funds are available, then we can make that happen, so.
Excellent.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Number 27, to approve the 2019, 2020 revised school student calendars. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Oh, discussion, sorry.
Well, I just wanted to bring up a point. I didn't know if people looked at all the possibilities, but on 1819 and 1920, their 3-week break at Christmas, they're coming back like into another week. So they're 1 week, I think there's 3 days of the week left, and 1 week there's 4, and that may lead to attendance problems because they'll just take the whole week off. That often happens. Are you, John, the person I should talk to about this? You're looking at me and smiling, so.
I was looking at Dr. Avila to see if he wanted me to respond. I'm trying to get the iMessage. But, you know, there was a calendar committee. I think that's something that can be taken back. Well, we're trying to approve a 3-year calendar so that the families and community can plan. Obviously, it's being brought back because there was a revision. So I think that as we move into each year, we should reconvene that committee just to really finalize it one more time and maybe have to make a tweak here and there, because you bring up a very valid point. We don't want to create a problem.
Right, because weeks of vacation should be solid weeks, and so sometimes we could start school 2 or 3 days later or something like that, just so it works out, because you really solve a lot of problems when you do that.
I agree.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Number 28, to approve the appointment of the principals and athletic directors of Carter, Eisenhower, and Rialto High Schools as site-level representatives of the California Interscholastic Federation, CIF League, for the 2018 school year. Motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Number 29, approve renewal of an agreement with Apex Learning Incorporated from July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2018 at a total cost not to exceed $98,800 to be paid from the general fund. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No. Motion passes. Number 30, approve an agreement with the Cambrian Group to provide training based on strategic planning and 3 areas of emphasis: strategic thinking, plan review, and the annual strategic plan update from August 2017 through June 2018 at a cost not to exceed $76,400 plus not to exceed reimbursable travel expenses of $14,060 with original receipts for a total of $90,460 to be paid from the general fund. Motion to approve?
So moved.
We're not going to approve
Second.
it? Okay. Sorry. Discussion?
Yes. Okay, I am very heartily in favor of the strategic planning process. I participated in the strategic planning process, but we have already spent a huge sum of money on this group, and their travel expenses, I'm sorry, are out of line. We've completed the strategic plan a year ago, and we barely started touching the surface of implementing it. I think, I don't know, I just assumed that at some point we had some staff that were heavily trained in this process to be our district leaders in the process. So why aren't we doing this all internally? Why do we keep calling them back for these large sums of money?
Ria?
Well, the first year is extremely important. So part of what this contract is for is to train all of the assistant principals who never went through the full strategic thinking process. And so, and also as we bring on new administrators to the district, it's really important. The next is the monitoring piece. So as we place each school's strategic plan into the system, there is a specific process of how you monitor the progress. And so that part is going to be new to us, even those of us that are internal facilitators. So they are going to walk us through that process as well as the annual plan review update. So the first year is critical, and then we should be able to carry it forward independently after that. But a lot of the plans start and fail within those first years. So it doesn't mean we will utilize this total cost, but just in case that we're needing that monitoring, and also them to work individually with school sites.
So my question, I guess, would be this. If this is approved tonight, will this be the final approval for this expenditure?
For this year.
For this
Only
year,
for this year.
recall that this is a 5-year plan, and what some districts do is have smaller contracts to help have the company come out and help give input and direction as to how things are going. Also, in some districts, what they do is they hire an internal person to oversee the strategic plan because of its importance. We have assigned it to individuals who already have full-time assignments, and they have found the time to provide the ongoing facilitation of the program. That's another thing that we can consider in the coming year. But I believe that to get us through this first year successfully, it's important to have those who have developed this model assist us in this process.
I can understand that, but I just really hope we definitely wean off of this
Put a
because it's a
period.
lot of money.
Any other discussion?
You want to ask for another report, Nancy?
Next year.
No. If there's no other discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay, the motion passes 4 to 4. 4-0. Number 31, approve an agreement with Blackboard Incorporated for a 1-year subscription from July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2018 for the use of Blackboard Incorporated, formerly ParentLink. Services at a cost of $2.65 per student, not to exceed a total of $64,935.60 to be paid from Title I, Part A, and or the General Fund. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes.
Okay. Dr. Avila?
This is a great way to reach out to the families in our community. And this is a viable tool that we use to communicate as effectively as we possibly can. It is a system that can be used at our discretion as many times as we want to, but it loses its impact if we use it frequently, because as the phone rings and they know it's from the district, there's a tendency to just pick up and hang up. Yeah. So it takes away from the message being delivered.
Right.
And I say that because we've had some members in the community, organizations or what have you, that have asked for us to send messages to our families on their behalf. And as much as we want to, as part of our strategic plan, grow the relationships with groups in the community,
Well, we can't do that.
there's certain things that we have to keep separate. We do have Peach Jar, which also is another tool that we have to reach out to families. That allows anyone within the Rialto Unified School District community that is not a part of the district to send messages at a certain cost. So if Little League Baseball wants to send out a message to our families, they can go through the Peach Jar process, pay the nominal fee, and the message is delivered. But I wanted to say that in case you hear comments or someone reaches out to you about us not necessarily being open to the idea of sending messages for them using our Blackboard.
Oh, and just a question for the Peach Jar. or is that available? Do people know that they can utilize? I mean, I know I see the flyers, but the process to be able to do that, to send out information to our families?
I'll
Or
ask
is it
Ms.
just
Joffrey to
Ms. Joffrey?
respond to that.
For the record, my name is Saida Joffrey. Thank you, President Walker, for asking that question. Peach Jar is utilized by most of our schools. I would like to say probably all of our schools. We have had a training, a very short training, about 20 to 30 minutes, just to explain it to the principals and the site leaders. There is a designated person at each of our 29 school sites that there is a process for Peach Jar. As Dr. Avila had mentioned, you know, when you start doing some great things social media wise, everyone wants to latch on, and we love that. But we are here to serve students, and our focus is for the kids. So what Peach Jar does do is, if it's anything in-house, and we have a good faith policy with the city of Rialto as well, so we want to make sure that we continue that, because that is Dr. Avila's vision and the board's vision. However, if there's an outside vendor, Peach Jar just asks for a nominal fee, $40, $30, but that email has been the accumulation of the parents, and I believe we're over about 15,000 emails. So we have a lot of emails of our parents. We're utilizing things, but as you know, the accountability factor is high as well. We have to make sure that we use it for the right purpose and not misuse it, and that it stays not political, but information tool for parents, information tool for students. So yes, there's several different ways under this leadership. We have Facebook, we have Twitter, we have Peach Jar, we have the all users, we also have parent link Blackboard. So there's many different ways to get our information across. Having said that, we do need to make sure that school sites continue to provide us accurate information with parent emails, as well as phone numbers. And you know, sometimes most of our districts are very mobile, so we're constantly playing catch up. But to just let you know, it is a very systematic process. It does go to Ed Services. Once we have the approval from Ed Services that this is something that the district can authorize, our parents get the information.
Okay, so this is going to be in conjunction with information dissemination with Peach Jar.
No, Peach Jar is completely different than Parent Link.
Okay, and the
this
Parent
is
Link is around the school
telecommunication.
information.
Right.
Right.
So
Okay.
yeah, Peach Jar is different, and this is a telecommunication piece.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. That's
Thank
fine.
you.
Any other questions? Discussion?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Mr. Montez and Mr. Ayala?
No hurry.
Either one?
Age before age.
Well,
Like-
age before age. We'll start a war. You know, I know it's getting late, but I just had a epiphany here.
Stay awake.
Yeah, and you know, they say a lot of times to think out of the box. I'm thinking maybe we need to think in the box. And what I mean by that is, you know, this is kind of humorous, but you know, we're trying to get a hold of our parents, and sometimes they hang up. Well, there's another way. Since we're buying products from Papa John's, you get where I'm going with this? Maybe we can include some special messages in the box when they get the pizza. Oh, by the way, you've been served. Okay, enough of that. It's late. It's late.
Mr. Montez.
Okay, I made a few people laugh. I woke you up. I did my job.
Do we have a communication system, a mass communication system through text for parents?
Yes. Under this Blackboard Parent Link, when it was picked up that our enrollment had dropped, we saved about $10,500 re-signing with Blackboard. Sometimes we don't get a chance to share the PR of it, so it's good news for us. What they did is last year we incorporated our mobile app, so we do not have to pay extra for the mobile app. And this year, I believe Mr. Roach, myself, and the leader of the Parent Center are going to get together, and we are going to ask Blackboard if they can train our parents as well, and then each of the PTA leaders and the school sites, to make sure that we use this particular mobile app as well. So I know with Synergy we have some. This is more designed as user friendly. So we're still going to be negotiating with ParentLink. Dr. Avila keeps sending me back to the board, so we're trying to get the bang for the buck. These vendors may not like us, but they're going to give us the best deal, and we are going to do our best to utilize them and let them benefit, let the parents benefit as well. And I do agree, Dr. Avila, mobile app was something that Dr. Avila wanted at the school sites. And so this year we are going to be implementing it. We've had some turnovers and so forth, because I think sometimes, as you all know, most of you are parents, when you get your text messages, sometimes it's a lot easier than hanging up on me when I'm talking to the parents. So like you mentioned, I'm okay with that.
Papa John.
But it is easier sometimes just to read the text
Right.
than to pick up the phone and wait 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So that is coming this year. It is in the works.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Excellent. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Excellent. Number 13, approve an agreement with Yardstick Management LLC to provide customer care staff development in the areas of communication, appreciation, responsiveness, and environment from July 25th, 2017 through August 1st, 2017, all with ongoing support through 2017-18 school year at a cost for services of $49,500 plus $10,500 for materials and travel costs reimbursable upon receipts provided, for a total of cost of $60,000 to be paid from the general fund. Do I have a motion to approve?
Number 32.
Yes.
Number
We're right- yes, number 32. You guys we're on number
So moved.
32.
Yes, yes.
Do I have a second? Second. Okay. Any discussion? Oh, yes, Ms. O'Kelly.
Okay, so this is another expenditure for the strategic plan.
Well, this is the customer care service. We are training over 200 staff members, administrators, and the clerical staffs at all the schools over this 4-day period. They will go in groups of 100 every 2 days to go through this extensive customer care training with certification at the end of the second day.
Okay, so it's every administrator and every
And
clerical staff?
All the school secretaries and all clerk typists and attendance clerks and attendance specialists.
Okay, and how did we find this company?
It was a